This is Talk Sport. We are the two Mikes, and I'm delighted to say it's time to say a very, very good evening to Mr. Mike, a Porky, a Parry. Very good evening to you, Mr. Parry.
And a very good evening to you, Mike. On our debut on this Sunday night show,
yes.
I am delighted to be able to announce that I am indeed the only man in Britain who predicted that Burnley would get a result at Chelsea.
Yeah, it's extraordinary, actually. I mean, I'm trying to sort of get over the whole shock of your treble coming true by telling myself that you won't get another one right for the rest of the season.
Well,
so you might as well start and get it out of the way.
But I'm so far ahead of you now in the trebles game.
Well, you're one ahead of me. How are you so far ahead of me?
Well, yeah, but the odds were 39-1.
I don't care.
So that accumulates a huge lead.
Do you not remember last year we both together, we ended up one time or another, we got 7 right in a row. Yeah. I think I got 4 and you got 3.
Yes.
So, I mean, you know, the money is not the issue here.
Oh, it is.
You've won one. You got one up on me, basically, is what it is.
I think you'll find that it has set the marker for the season. I've raised the bar very, very high indeed.
Really? Well, perhaps you'd like to tell me what your treble is for next weekend.
Well, I'm not going to tell you that until I've studied the dynamic of the fixture list, okay?
So when you studied the dynamic of the Chelsea-Burnley fixture list, could you tell immediately from that Chelsea were going to put out one of their worst performances of all time?
To me, it was pretty obvious that all is not well at Chelsea and there's trouble at Mill.
Well, there certainly does seem to be.
Trouble at Mill translated itself, I'm afraid, down onto the pitch. It was just a lack of discipline amongst the team.
Yeah.
Finished with 9 men. And talking about 9 men, by the way, let's switch immediately to today's game.
Yes.
John Joe Shelby, the most stupid footballer ever born.
That's very possibly true. Yeah. We're going to be talking to Warren Barton, former Newcastle player, about that because Rafa Benitez, when he was being interviewed afterwards, said he made a mistake, which I thought he handled it well. I liked the way he did it. He said he made a mistake, however, it was nowhere near as bad, and I would like to know what people think about the Harry Kane challenge, because he was of the opinion that if they're going to send off John Joe Shelby, then they should also send off Harry Kane.
That's rubbish. The Harry Kane thing wasn't even a booking, in my view. It was a good old-fashioned tackle. Harry Kane actually got upset with himself for losing the ball in possession, which you should never do because it's giving it back to the opposition.
Well, he's got to be careful with that
because
I've noticed this with Harry Kane before, is that he sometimes lunges after the ball if he loses control of it, which can either lead to an injury or can lead to a yellow or a red card. And, you know, it'd be stupid to get himself sent off, wouldn't it?
Yeah, certainly would. But I mean, to step on another man's foot, it wasn't a stamp, by the way. It was less violent, wasn't it, than that? It was a step. He stepped onto his ankle as though he was, stepping onto a step, so to speak. But to do it 3 feet away from the referee,
it doesn't show great perspicacity.
No, and to do it for no reason at all. Dele Alli hadn't done anything to upset John Joe Shelby, except that John Joe Shelby apparently thought he was hanging onto the ball too long for the quick free kick.
Well, indeed. Or as Danny Kelly said, was he not just doing what Newcastle were deciding to do, which was try and nobble Dele Alli? But I thought that sort of behaviour wasn't something that we were likely to smile upon.
Yeah, that's right. Now, Manchester United fans are going to jump down my throat, but we want to hear from both them and everybody else tonight, don't we?
Well, are you not going to give us a chorus of Lukaku?
No, because he doesn't play for Everton.
Yeah, but he now plays for Manchester United, possibly the biggest football club in the entire world.
Yeah, that's fine.
Right? He's going to get many, many more chances. He also, I'll tell you what I thought was important and impressive about him today, was that he scored the first 2 goals. Yeah. Now, do you remember I've often told you that his goal scoring is not always that important for Everton?
He didn't score the first 2, did he?
I thought he did.
He scored the first one before half-time, then the second half, I think Marshall scored, didn't he? And then,
he scored 2 goals.
He scored 2, definitely.
I thought he scored the first 2.
I don't think he scored them consecutively,
okay.
But I'm happy to be proved wrong.
All right. You will be proved wrong because that will be happening.
I'm just trying to recall my memory from watching the game this afternoon. It can't be that bad.
It wasn't that long ago.
He didn't score.
Anyway, never mind about that. The point is that he scored the winning he scored the opening goal, which is most important because obviously that can then be the winning goal. So he's already becoming a much more kind of important part of Manchester United.
He did score 2 consecutive because his header was the second goal, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, of course it was. Yeah, I'm going mad.
Yeah, you are going mad. The point is that what I'm trying to say to you is that
because I thought then he could be on for a hat-trick. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there we are then. And did he score a hat-trick?
No.
No, are you sure?
Exactly.
Are you absolutely certain?
Of course I'm sure.
Excellent. Right. Can we move on now?
Well, all I was going to say was...
I haven't finished my point.
Well, come on, finish it, please.
Would you like me to finish my point or not?
Yes.
My point is that he's obviously now going to play a much more important role for Manchester United winning games than he did for Everton, where an awful lot of his goals were unimportant goals. That's my point.
Well, actually, because United won 4-0, his goals were unimportant today, because if they hadn't scored 2, they would have won 2-0.
Incorrect, because in the old days...
On that ridiculous premise that you've just put up...
No, you're wrong.
I say I vouchsafe that the same argument applies.
No, it doesn't, actually, because if you score, for example, the 3rd and the 4th goal, those goals are not as important as the 1st and 2nd, are they?
Yeah, well, maybe, but I mean, it doesn't matter. 4 in total, you could have won it with 2. What I was going to say is, although he scored 2 goals, I didn't really think he had a terribly good game. I thought he was a bit sort of...
Oh, I thought he had a great game.
I thought most of the game passed him by.
No, he had a great game. I mean, you were never critical of him. This is a familiar pattern with you. You know, whenever anybody leaves Everton, you know, they then become less than the dirt to you, which I think is a terribly disloyal way to treat people.
No,
you did the same thing with John Stones. You've done the same thing with every other player that's ever left Everton. And very few have ever come back, apart from, of course, Wayne Rooney, who we will also talk about to some extent, who also scored a very important goal for Everton.
Yes.
But it was also very clear, and you were up there, so we'll get some more of your take on it.
Yes.
It's also very clear that Everton needs somebody else up front, don't they?
I couldn't agree with you more. Yeah. We certainly do. We're looking at some Belgian guy at the moment. That's a bit vague, I know.
Some Belgian guy?
Well, I mean, he's looking at a load of players, but apparently there's one guy who's playing in Italy and who I think is Belgian, or he might be Italian playing in Belgium, but it's one of the two.
So he's either a Belgian playing in Italy or an Italian playing in Belgium.
That's right, absolutely.
Maybe somebody could help us out with that. Should we give out the number?
Yes.
We want to hear from you, by the way, tonight, please. 08717 223344. This is a new slot for us. We are going to be talking to an awful lot of people, including, as I said, Warren Barton and Mark Donaldson. But we want to talk to you as well, and we want to talk to Bob Bupka too, who's over there in the US of A watching the PGA for us.
Although not many people seem to be taking much notice of that, do they?
Well, I'm sure in the golfing fraternity they are.
Well, I'm sure they are, but I mean, headline-wise, it doesn't seem to have really, sparked much of the imagination.
There's there may be a good reason for that. It may well be because golf has now become this great event where an awful lot of different people are at the top of the leaderboard who haven't possibly won before.
Yes.
And it's a much more egalitarian sport now than it's ever been. It's not being dominated by one or two names. Let's find out from Bob Bupka precisely what is going on. Bob, a very good evening to you.
Hey, good evening, guys.
Hi, Bob.
I wish I knew what was going on. Can you believe it? At the moment, 5 guys are tied for the lead.
Wow.
They're all playing the back 9. 1 is from Italy. 1 is from Japan. 3 are from the United States. So take your pick. 2 of them have won last week. So let's run down the names. Francisco Molinari. He's through 15 holes at -7. Hideki Matsuyama, the 25-year-old, a third-ranked player in the world, looking to become the first Japanese player ever to win a major. He's in that mix. Justin Thomas, who's never won a major, 7 under. Kevin Kisner, whose 93-year-old grandmother lives about 5 miles from the golf course here. And Chris Stroud, who won last week in Nevada just to get into this event. He's also at 7 under par. It's going to be unbelievable down the stretch. It's
going to be a great finish, isn't it? Now, I heard you saying earlier, Bob, a few hours back, that you might be expecting some thunderstorms. Is that still the case, or is it looking a bit clearer?
No, we used the Mike Parry method. We sent up some rockets, and those those thunderstorms have dissipated.
Well done.
And we're going to be clear sailing.
That's absolutely marvellous. Good. The SPGA, does it spark the imagination, Bob? We're just saying that you don't get a lot of headlines on this one over here, really, because Rory, of course, sort of ran out of steam early in the competition. And is it the sort of lesser of the 4 majors?
Boy, good question. Yes, I mean that's the honest answer. And the way to put it is the other 3 are so big that this is a big event, but it's not as big. So it's the lesser. They just announced this week, by the way, that this championship is going to move to the month of May, starting in 2019. I think that's a little better spot for it.
Yeah. Well, so then it's before the Open over here, though, isn't it? So that makes it between the Open and the Masters, right?
Well, no, here's the running order, and it works out well. The Masters will be first, then this PGA Championship, then our U.S. Open, and then the granddaddy of them all, the Open Championship, will be the last major of the year. It's the oldest, it's the best, and I think it's only fitting that it gets its place as, the last major of the year.
Well, I think that's a great way to do it.
I think maybe they should play the PGA somewhere else in the world then.
Well, maybe. Yeah, well, I think having 3 of the 4 majors based in America does somewhat sort of monopolise the territory, doesn't it? But no, I think that's great, because then I think everybody, really looks, as you quite rightly say, forward to the putting the cap on the golfing season with the Open. Yes, no, that's good.
Yeah, but you bring up a good point, because there's serious talks of moving the PGA Championship around the globe, not just keeping it in the United States, which I think would be a wonderful idea. Because 3 out of 4 majors all being played here, it's just not right.
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
I think that's true. And also for a lot of European, based golfers, it means that there's a very, very concentrated period of time for those 3 majors to all be played in America. So if you're on the PGA Tour in Europe, you're kind of at a disadvantage, aren't you?
Yeah, you really are. But this is the way it's going to work. You know, the Players' Championship, which is a huge event on the PGA Tour, that's going to be in March. And then April's going to be the PGA. June's going to be the U.S. Open. July is going to be the Open Championship. The main reason they had to move, guys, is because the Olympics looks like it's going to be a fixture every 4 years in the month of August. So the PGA would have had a problem every 4 years. So they announced the move, and I think it's going to be a lot better.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that.
All right, well, listen, we'll keep a good eye on what's going on this afternoon anyway. Thank you very much indeed, Bob Bupker there. Jerry says this. He's in Arizona. Nothing gets better on a Sunday afternoon in Arizona, watching the PGA golf and listening to the two mics and enjoying a few beers.
Well, that's very kind of you to say so.
Isn't that great?
I think the beers taste better than we sound, but,
speak for yourself.
Well,
Turner says, no better way to end a week than with the sensible MG to pour some sense on the mad ramblings of Mike Parry.
I don't have mad ramblings.
Great show.
Talking about non-mad ramblings, by the way. You know those pipes that washed up on those beaches
in Norfolk? Yeah.
Do you know they could kill you, and you've got to stay away from them?
What?
They could kill you.
Why?
Well, because they're so huge.
Right.
And I saw online an alert this morning the police put out, do not go down there and look at these pipes, particularly with young children.
Oh, yeah.
If you're
in case they roll or something.
Yeah, if you're standing on one side of the pipe and a wave comes in, and it's only got to roll 2 or 3 inches, it could crush a child.
Are they still sitting there then?
Yeah, still sitting there.
They haven't moved them away?
Well, 12 of them.
Well, I was one that alerted you to this story. I knew this was a massive story when I saw it.
Yes, it's massive. And 8 of them have been secured at sea.
I see.
I.e., they've put weights around them and buoyed them down, sort of like an anchor. But the other 4 have got to be taken back out to sea and sent back to where they came from in Norway.
Right.
They're not now going to complete their journey to Algeria in case they're damaged.
Well, that's a good idea. I think you should keep them there.
Yeah.
Bury them is what I would do. Bury them on the beach. We've got lots more to do. We've also got, of course, El Clasico going on. It's the Spanish Super Cup, I believe, between Real Madrid and Barcelona. 58 minutes gone. Real Madrid are 1-0 up. But as of course, because as Danny Kelly pointed out earlier, a bit difficult to tell who's who because they're all playing the same colour, which is a bit daft.
Well, it's very odd, isn't it?
Yeah, this is Talk Sport. This is TalkSport. We are the two mics, and we're here, of course, all the way through until 1 o'clock. And Bob Ballard is going to be taking over. Dave says this, capping off a hectic weekend of football, yard work and beer with MG and MP. Lukaku, as he says.
Yeah, well, it is. It is Lulu, who are you? That's what I'm chanting at Goodson. By the way... I met some very nice people up in the city of Liverpool on Saturday.
Yes, well, we must. I'll be quizzing you on your trip up there, obviously.
Yeah, sure, yeah. And what happened was, I waited around for about 20 minutes after the game, 25 minutes.
Well, you were in one of the luxury lounges, weren't you?
Well, I was in my lounge, which is the Alex Young lounge. I saw Brian, Brian Vine. He came
did you?
To me, yeah, we said hello.
So is he in a similar place or not?
Well, he doesn't have as exclusive a seat as I have, obviously, but I made sure he was able to enter the inner sanctum.
Can you do that then? Can you bring people in?
Sort of, but I mean, after the game's finished, all the doors are open. It doesn't matter, because people just sort of come in and that's fine. But no, what I was going to say was, it's always very difficult to get from Goodison Park to Lime Street.
Yes,
and I was getting the train home.
How easy is it going to be from the new venue when it's built?
I don't know.
Are they going to have their own railway station or something?
No, they won't have their own railway station, but I think that's actually closer to Lime Street because it's just sort of up on that, stretch of the river where the Albert Dock is and beyond. But no, what I was going to say is so I walked down, to a parallel road called County Road, and I got a bus.
Okay.
Now,
a bus?
Bus,
What sort of bus?
Well, a blue bus.
What, man, a shuttle bus? Or just a regular bus?
Just a regular, like, Liverpool City Council bus, right. Because you just can't get taxis at that time of night. No. After a game, an hour after the game, the roads are closed off down the...
I'm amazed you haven't got some better arrangement to have a guy waiting for you.
Well, even if you did, you wouldn't be able to get through the traffic. The roads are all closed off up from Everton Valley, so, they're full of coaches and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, on this bus... Somebody sort of, said hello, and I said, hello, how are you? And do you want, and we did a picture and all that kind of stuff. And then somebody else said, oh, look, it's old Porky and all that.
Yeah.
In the end, it became the old Porky Parry bus show.
Really?
And
you did a show?
Well, not a show, but it was a bit like a Q&A. Everybody throwing questions at me. Oh,
really?
how big's Alan Brazil now? And, hey, why'd you call low face, and all this kind of stuff.
You've given people his name for me, which is really unkind.
It's not.
Not at all the right sort of thing to be calling me.
Yes.
It's not the way that I wish to be sort of described.
Well,
I mean, you've already come up with old MG, which I don't particularly mind.
Well, no, I've scrapped that now. You're just MG now, yeah.
Just MG.
Yeah, I thought, why do I need the 3 extra letters old, in a Twitter account or something like that?
Very
so
true.
You're just MG.
All right. Well, here's something for you to think about. Owen says, I hope MG takes Porky, a.k.a. Banana Man, to task, as he drank bolly and ate bananas on the Rattler yesterday.
Yes.
I didn't see any bolly. I
no,
saw
there's
some
no
wine.
bolly. There was what happened was
we had some croissants and some bananas.
Croissants and bananas. I thought it was very, very healthy.
Did you not eat lunch? Because I saw a picture that you put out earlier of the team sheet with a load of just horrendously kind of leftover type stuff on a plate behind it.
No, that was prime beef.
Well, why hadn't you finished it?
Well, because I got the team sheet and I thought I'll send the team sheet out so everybody can see that the room is starting the game. Well, the team sheet was
interesting, but we didn't need to see what you were eating as well.
Well, no, I wouldn't worry about that.
I'm not worried.
No, I had some croissants and bananas on the train home for a healthier and a glass of the old Pinot with somebody who was sitting on my table. Sorry?
Looked like a bottle
Well,
to
I
me.
didn't drink a whole bottle, obviously.
Didn't you?
I'm not stupid enough to go around drinking whole bottles of Pinot, am I? For goodness sake.
I would have thought you were. Right. Anyway, let's talk to Phil, who's in Cheshire. He's a Manchester City fan. Hello, Phil.
Hi.
Hi, Phil. Hi, Phil. How are you?
Good evening to you, Phil. What would you like to say?
I'm fine. I just wanted to congratulate Porky on his incisive predictions yesterday. He picked Manchester United to win, Everton on his charity bet. He picked Manchester United to win, Everton to win, and Burnley to win.
I know, it was amazing.
Burnley was the one that made the bet. I mean,
well, it was. Don't you think it was a bit of a fluke, though, Phil? Don't you think it's a bit of a fluke?
Pardon?
Don't you think it's a bit of a fluke?
No, I just think the man's got it.
Yeah, exactly, I've got it. I mean, anybody could see there was trouble at Mill, to use Manchester language, Phil, if you see what I mean.
Correct.
And when there's trouble at Mill, you know that can translate down onto the pitch, and that's exactly what happened. So,
you know what a lot of people are saying. Sorry.
I'm from Cheshire, though, mate, not Manchester, so there's no need to take the mickey out of me from being...
No, which part of Cheshire?
Or anything.
Which part of Cheshire?
I'm from Hale.
Hale, well, Hale.
That's what they say in Scotland.
But Hale's a brilliant place. I mean, that's money. You've got a big house, have you?
Not Caesar. It's not Hale Caesar, no.
Not Hale Barnes?
No, but it's Hale Celtic fans, don't they?
Hale Barnes. I'm actually from Hale Barnes. Mate.
Yeah, lovely. Very good. You got a big house?
No, it's not too big. It's only 6 bedroom.
Yeah, that's about right.
6 bedrooms.
Yeah, that's right.
You've got a big family. Some people now are saying, by the way, that one of the indications that things are not good at Chelsea is that Antonio Conte came out, instead of wearing his normal suit, wearing a tracksuit.
That's right, yeah.
What do you make of that?
Correct.
What do you make of that, Phil?
I think it's amazing because last year he was like Men in Black, crowd surfing all the time.
Yeah.
And yesterday he was stood there, very defensive body language with his arms folded all the time in that trackie.
Yeah.
It's very weird, isn't it?
Very, very weird. And I just also wanted to say thank you to you because about a month ago I got the Call of the Day award off you.
Oh, yes.
And
excellent.
I got a Wix voucher for £100.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, that was back in June, yeah.
That's excellent.
Yeah, we were having a go about Yaya Toure.
That's right.
You wouldn't recognise him
That's
at the
it.
bus stop.
That's right.
And I bought two new toilet seats, and I've still got 28 quid left.
Well, that's excellent. Good. You put
I'm glad to hear it. What did you make of Manchester City against Brighton, Phil? Were you happy with that?
I thought we were very professional. I thought they were a bit boring. I'd expect them to do a bit more for their first game back at home. I can understand they don't want to get out and go and get beat 6-0, but as a scar to spectacle, it was a bit like attack and defence. And I think once we were going to get in front, we were always going to win it. Yeah. And if Aguero hadn't miskicked and Jesus had got that header in, I think it could have been a whacking for them. But as it was, professional performance, we kick on. We've got Porky's Mob a week tomorrow.
Well, I was about to say,
Porky's coming up for that, I think.
I am going up for that. I'm going to be in a box there with a company that sponsors us, BetSafe, and if you're around, Phil, it'll be good to see how Everton are going to perform on the big stage, which is what your ground is, and of course it's your first home game, isn't it?
Yeah, and if there's a spare seat in the box, I'll meet you because my lad's home from China.
Yeah.
He's been in China for 5 years.
Yeah.
He's come home. He's been home before now, but he's come home this time He goes back on the 26th, and the only City game he can get to before he goes back on the 26th is the Everton home game.
Yeah.
So he's going with my youngest son on my ticket.
Oh, I see.
And then I'll mostly go and watch it in the pub or something. But
I see.
I'll miss this one. I'll fit this one out.
Well, I'd love to be able to.
Spare place in your box, mate. Give me a ring.
Well, do you know, I would love to be able to help you there, Phil, but unfortunately, it's rather exclusive.
It's not his box either.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
he's not able to bring anybody in.
That's
Phil,
right.
listen, thank you very much indeed. Glad you enjoyed the 2 toilet seats for your 6-bedroom house in Hoole.
Yes.
How about this from Matt, who says, Ali was niggling Shelby in the lead up to the clash, although that doesn't make what Shelby did right, though.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that.
Stupid footballer.
Yeah.
And I quite like this other one as well, from Paul, who says, I agree that Shelby was stupid, but Ali does it every week, gives it out, but can't take it back. And the refs protect him. Why? Now, if you're a Spurs fan, we'd like to hear from you, because is that right, that Ali gives it out but can't take it and actually gets away with murder?
Yeah, well, I didn't see that in Ali. And anyway, if he does that, he's clever, because that's what professionals are supposed to do, undermine the opposition, and doesn't often get pulled up for it. So I would say that he's pretty much a complete footballer, Dele Alli, I would think.
Is that right?
I would think so, yeah.
Here's what Brendan says. Porky, well done on your treble during the breaks. Please play some country music.
Country music? Why?
Yeah. I don't know why.
No, I don't know either.
Actually, that's not from Brendan. This is from Brendan, who says, just driving back from London to Somerset. Yeah. It's my wife Caroline's first time listening to you guys, and she's loving the show.
That's great. Well done. What's her name again? Caroline.
Yeah.
Caroline. Sweet Caroline.
Now, we're going to be talking to... Yeah, all right, calm down. We're going to be talking to Warren Barton coming up very soon about Newcastle. But, you know, there's also somebody else up there that we should be talking about.
Yes.
Your mate Simon Grayson.
Simon Grayson.
He's done rather well, hasn't he?
He's done all right. 1-3-1 away from home. That's good.
Well, so far... So far,
that's 4 points out of 6.
Sunderland already in the playoff positions.
Yeah, well, already in the playoff
They've played 2 games,
mate.
I know, but, you know, you said he would be a horrendous failure.
No, I didn't say that.
Yes, you did. You said he'd be hopeless.
I don't think he'll get them back into the Premier League, which is what the obvious target would be for a Sunderland manager.
They're in position at the moment.
Well, you say that. Listen, the other news,
the
other news, Liverpool fans, I do not wish to upset you, but it looks as though... Kloppy has opened the door a little bit, doesn't he, for Coutinho
to go to
Barcelona? Yeah.
Do you mean Mr. Klopp?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Well, he hasn't opened the door. The guy's asked for a transfer.
Yeah, I know, but I think from the last quotes I saw him saying, where he kind of an acceptance now that
I don't think you can keep him,
the player's got to go. No, I don't think he can.
I don't see how he can keep him. If he's put in a transfer request, I think they have to take the money.
That's right. And I don't think... I'm sorry about it. I don't think he's prepared to stay another season.
Yes, well, we got many, many more things to talk about. 08717 22 3344. We got winners and losers coming up a little bit later on. We'll let you guys vote on that because you haven't done it for a while. This is Talk Sport.
Hand, touching hands, reaching out, touching me, touching you.
Great song, that. I must say, I prefer hearing Neil Diamond sing it than you.
Well, Neil Diamond at his peak, wasn't it? That Sweet Caroline, highest paid musician in the world. Now, we sang that because it was a dedication to one of our listeners' wives, right, Caroline.
It's called Caroline. Yeah.
And then our producer there, John Old Chambers, who is of Northern Ireland descent.
Yes.
In fact, he is Northern Irish.
In fact, he's Northern Irish.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so it's descent.
It's not really just descent.
That's right. Told us that is the theme tune for the Northern Ireland fans when they play home games at Windsor Park.
There you go.
I didn't know that, but
I'm pretty sure it's the song that's sung by certain baseball fans
I
as
think
well.
It probably is.
I think it might be the Red Sox, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think
now, how about this from Martin in Beverley? It's great to hear the two mics on a Sunday night. I was going to iron just for tomorrow, but now you're on, I've got the week's ironing out.
He's going to iron?
He's going to iron all night.
What?
3 hours of ironing.
Really? Is that what you do when you listen to us? You're ironing? Well, that's therapeutic. I find ironing quite therapeutic. I do iron occasionally.
You don't do any ironing, though,
No, I do occasionally.
Really?
When sometimes, I want a particular shirt or something that I'm going out in and something like that, and I think, oh, golly, I'm going to have to wash it and iron it because, it's missed the washing cycle. You see what I mean?
All right. Well, it's not that interesting, actually. What I've got to tell you, though, is that Luis Suarez is up to his old tricks. He's just got a penalty, right, in the Spanish Cup.
Yes.
It's now 1-1 because Lionel Messi put it away.
Yeah.
But absolute blatant dive.
Oh, I mean...
Incredible.
It was one of those where he'd already arranged the landing before he took off. Because
both of his legs come off the ground before he's even touched the goalkeeper.
He put his hands down the side of his body so that when he took off, he knew that he would cushion his fall with his shoulders. You see what I mean? He'd made it all and absolutely telegraphed that he was going to dive. The goalkeeper can't be put at fault. The goalkeeper's responsibility was go down and get the ball.
Yeah.
But the referee should have sent him off. Under the new guidelines about simulation, Suarez should have gone.
Yeah, he should have done. Like John Joe Shelby did today in the Newcastle game. We're going to talk now to Warren Barton, former Magpie himself, of course, to find out what he made of that performance and why Shelby did what he did.
Yep.
Warren, very good evening to you.
Good evening, my friends. How are you?
Yeah, very well indeed, Warren. Thank you. Good to hear from you.
We've been asking the question whether John Joe Shelby is the stupidest footballer to have ever lived because of that. It wasn't really a stamp so much; it's just a kind of a stepping on Dele Alli with his foot right in front of the referee.
Yeah, it was. It was stupid to say the least. And going from probably one of the proudest moments of his career, leading the team out at St James's Park for the opening game of the season, to doing something so ridiculous. You know, I was always told if you're going to get sent off, make sure it's worthwhile. It was stupid. It was soft. And it was idiotic, and he's let a lot of people down. Not only, I don't think he matters about himself, but he let the team down. And the fans, because I thought there was a tremendous atmosphere in the stadium. I think Spurs would have gone on to win the game. They had a lot of quality going forward. I mean, Harry Kane was treading the line a little bit with his challenge as well, but it is stupidity. You know, you talk about modern players, and there's been some stupid people around in this game, but when you put it all in perspective, the captain, the leader, the situation that you're in, it really let a lot of people down, let alone the manager and, as I said, the fans. But we'll live to fight another day. Yeah. And then we'll go on from, we've got 3 or 4 games now where you expect to get some points, hopefully.
Yes, that's right. Now, in addition to that, Warren, the owner, Mike Ashley, has been talking tonight. He did an interview for Premier League TV. It was shown here on Sky, and he said there isn't any money. I don't quite understand that because all Premier League clubs have got money, but I think he was making the point that he hasn't got free money like Manchester City or Chelsea, and even hinting that, perhaps, sooner rather than later the club now might be up for sale. Would it be a good thing if Mike Ashley got out of Newcastle and Newcastle were owned by, a group of people who really didn't sort of, exude this penny-pinching attitude but wanted to spend and spend big?
Yeah, it's never an easy season for Newcastle. You think getting into the Premier League, look at Brighton, Huddersfield, they're enjoying their pre-season and going in. This has just been turmoil with Rafa Benitez looking like he's going to walk out the door any moment. Mike Ashley can't wait. So I think it's always been in Ashley's mind to get in the Premier League and then try and find a buyer. Now, if you're talking about an investor that's going to come in like at Chelsea, that's going to strengthen, that wants to make it better, because all the foundations are there, the training ground, the academy, the stadium, and obviously the fan base is there, would be an ideal situation for some to come in and buy and spend the money. And gentlemen, you're right, when you're saying about the money that's in the TV revenue to be given to the clubs, to be given to the ownership to try and spend, and he said he hasn't got any money, that means that he's taking some money out to make sure that he's got some of his money that he's put in. It's a business to him, and that's the sad fact of it. In today's we have got business. Look at Barcelona, they get business, they put someone on, they sell Neymar and go forward, and them days have gone of maybe billionaires coming in, strengthening it, but Newcastle, I would think, would be very appealing to someone that's got plenty of money, i.e. you two gentlemen.
Well, indeed, but no, I don't know about that, but I'll tell you what, we're watching this game in Spain, and Ronaldo has now just been red carded, right? I'm not quite sure why.
Sent off.
He's been sent off. He's just scored the second goal, right? But he's now been sent off for diving, it would appear. Whereas Suarez got a penalty for diving. It's bizarre.
Yeah. It looks Mike.
Can you tell the difference with the jerseys? How close they are?
Very, very difficult to tell.
It's ridiculous. I've just been told. I think what's happened here is he got booked for simulation, i.e. diving.
Did he not get booked for taking off his shirt?
Yeah, and then he took his shirt off, and he got a second booking for that.
No, but he took his shirt off when he scored, I think.
Yeah, took his shirt off when he scored. That's right. So he got booked for that. Now he's been booked for simulation, so he's off.
Yeah, but how can they give him a red card for simulation and not Suarez? I've
no idea. There's a shocking disparity here.
I think it's going to be a massive punch-up, this.
Shocking disparity here between two of the world's great strikers. I don't know if you're watching this game, are you? But Suarez definitely dived. Did you think Suarez dived for his penalty?
He definitely dived. He was already in mid-air before he
was.
He was. And actually, Ronaldo didn't dive.
The referees in Spain are not the best either. The referees in Spain are not the best.
Yeah.
We can't normally complain too much, but that's ridiculous. That you score a goal in that circumstance. They should actually get rid of that. Well, if you take your shirt off, you should get a yellow card. Just leave it. Keep it. Well, I want to see a naked Ronaldo.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people do. I'm surprised you're one of them, to be honest. But horses for courses, right? Now, Ashley's going back to Ashley, right? He says he's put 250 million quid into the football club, and he says, guys, that's it. I haven't got any more of my own money. But he still seems to want the club to succeed. He still thinks that they're going to generate their money of their own.
He never shows that, does he? He said the first time they went down, I've done my money and, I've made all the mistakes and all that. Gets them back up and allows them to go down again. I don't think he'll ever learn how to run a football club, Warren. And he is beset by all sorts of, business pressures on a day-to-day basis. He's got all these, problems with his own company and allegations of, not paying people properly and all that kind of stuff. And maybe his mind's too distracted. He will make a big profit if he sells now, Warren, won't he? Because he bought relatively cheap.
Yeah, he did, and let's say he did stand by people like Chris Hughton and got them back into league, and then obviously fired them. But at the end of the day, the money that he's put into the club, he knows he's going to recoup that by selling it because, as I said, it's an asset that's the stadium's there, the facilities are all there. You've got a coach now that's very appealing, and it is just a business to him, and he has stuck by it, and he's probably took some money out what he needed to do as a living. I always go back to the beginning, gentlemen. When he took over the club, when he had people like Dennis Wise and other people that was on, that's when he lost most of his money because they were just throwing it away to anyone and everybody that they can do. Yeah. And I think that gave him a bitter taste in his mouth because that was the starting block of it all. That money was drifting out of the club, bleeding out of the club. Yeah. If it had people really that knew the area, knew the club, knew what it was about, it would have been a gentle progression. I'm not saying he wouldn't have lost money because I think you do lose money in football, but it wouldn't have been such a big hit at the beginning that's going forward. He loved it at the beginning, drinking with the fans, being out with them, and then it went sour. You can't have your cream and eat it, really, at the end of the day, because he wanted to be with them. And, I think you're seeing that a little bit with certain ownerships where they want to be with the fans, but at the end of the day, they've got to do what they feel right for their business side. But I think it would be beneficial for him that if he did get someone that would come in and strengthen it, but do it to the right people. But I think a lot of it falls back on the first 6 months that he was at Newcastle when he took over from Freddie Shepherd. There was a lot of debt in the club. He didn't know about it, and all of a sudden it was a big wake-up call. And before you know it, you're £100 million in debt, and you're trying to claim some of that money back.
That's right. Were you around when Sir John Hall was still in charge, Warren?
Yes, I was.
Because I mean that was a man who loved owning Newcastle United Football Club, didn't he? And wanted them to be successful, and broke his heart when that 12-point lead at the top of the Premier League suddenly dissipated. And what you need now is somebody who has that same utter desire and belief in the club, who wants you to be champions of England, and that could come from an overseas businessman who is very, very wealthy.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just the fact he has to be a Geordie and understand Newcastle, because you look at City, you look at these, they want their clubs to be successful, and they're willing to do it. Look at Chelsea. He wasn't a Chelsea fan when he was, back home in his motherland. So when he come over there, he got played with Chelsea, see what it was about, and fell in love with the club. And I think you would do that with Newcastle. I think you know the area, you know what the people are like.
Oh yeah,
so
absolutely.
I think someone that come in and bought into it, whether they're from the Middle East or whether they're from Eastern Europe, I don't really mind as long as they've got the heart of the club and the understanding of the club.
Right, yeah.
And it's a good business because every week 52,000 people, it's already sold out this season, are coming through that door.
Yeah, exactly.
Forget about the shirts and everything else, but it's a worrying time when your captain gets sent off for that. Then you've got your manager, who's a very well-respected, worldwide coach, upset that the funds are not there, and then you got the owner the next day coming out saying, well, if I got an offer, I'll walk out the door. So it doesn't fill you with confidence going into the season.
No, it doesn't. It's a right old roller coaster, Warren, isn't it? Yeah. That's very, very good, though, of you to talk to us. Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks,
Warren Barton there, reporting into us from the other side of the world. We've got lots more to do. Not an awful lot of time to do it.
No, we haven't either.
What have you got to say for yourself?
What I was going to say is, Mr. Ashley is also involved in a dispute.
Is he?
With
another one?
Well, this one is about a former very close associate, and I'm not going to name him because I read this in a newspaper report.
Yes.
I don't have any evidence about the report, but the allegation is that a former very close associate took about £3 million of Mr. Ashley's money to invest in some sort of golf complex on the continent.
Okay.
Dennis Wise had also invested in this. Dennis Wise didn't think the money's been used properly, sued and got his money back. It was about £500,000.
Right.
Mr. Ashley is now asking for the return of £3 million.
Trying to get his money back.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, interesting. We'll have to follow that one up and see what's going on. Lots and lots of tweets on Dele Alli. Matt says, Dele Alli was that kid at school who punched you when nobody was looking and then ran to the teacher to tell when you punched him back. Paul says, red card is right. I just don't like Ali and his actions playing the victim. He knows what he's doing. And Johnny says this, Porky's getting loads of credit for his predictions. Simon Gray Grayson is plenty good enough to get Sunderland up. Grabham is the key.
No, he's not good enough to get them up, honestly.
Well, I mean, you keep saying that, but they're already in 6th position.
If he does that, yeah, but they played 2 games.
Played 2 games, hasn't lost one yet.
Well, he's only won one, hasn't he, out of 2, 50% success rate.
Well, I wouldn't say that. He drew the other one.
I'm really pleased with Sean Dyche. Sean Dyche got a result yesterday. Yeah. It was a great result.
Well, where do you think Burnley are going to finish?
About 2/3 of the way down the table.
2/3 of the way down the table. Yeah, exactly right. We shall see. We've got lots more to do, though. This is TalkSport.
In a city like Los Angeles, where you know football and you live football and you have passion for football, we must give you real football. And so...
Who do you think that was?
That was Bobcat Bob.
Bobcat Bob.
Got to push the envelope.
He's back in the football business.
Got to get it on my radar.
Yeah, he's on. He's now the manager of a new team, a new franchise team in Los Angeles.
Yeah, in LA.
Los Angeles. Yeah.
And he's saying you got to know football. You got to love football. You got to have a passion for football.
That's it. You got to have, and it's Los Angeles Football Club.
Yeah, but in tribute to him, at least he's calling it football and not soccer.
That's true.
Yeah,
we miss him actually.
Yeah, we do.
We miss him here.
Yeah.
He did very well at Swansea. We quite enjoyed it.
No, he didn't do well. He did awfully, actually. But he was a breath of fresh air in the game because he was so expansive, like most Americans are.
I'll tell you who I was impressed with at the weekend. We've got a couple of tweets for you that I'm going to ask you about. Yeah. Somebody's already been on asking about what you thought of Pep Guardiola's attire at the weekend. I didn't notice anything particularly unusual.
I didn't either. What was he wearing?
I don't think he was wearing anything particularly unusual either. But I would like to tell you that Paul says I'm right. He says Sweet Caroline is sung at Fenway Park, the home of the Boston Red Sox.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
And it's also apparently a song which is sung by, I think, some people at the University of Missouri.
Missouri?
As well, so it's sung quite a lot of different places.
Sung in quite a lot of different places.
Here's one from Lady Laura. She says she's out on an emergency cat rescue. At least I've got the 2 mics for company, and I'm sure Mr. Parry is happy I'm rescuing another cat.
Yeah, okay. Now, there's one here from Goat. He says, Jesus Christ! That's his exclamation.
Yeah.
The 2 mics are on, aren't they? I don't know what nationality Goat's Rob is.
Well, you met him, actually.
Oh, have we? Where was that?
You met him when we did that thing down in Stockbroker Belt, Surrey.
Oh, okay. Did we? That nice.
He was the tall guy with the bald head.
Oh, okay. Very good.
Yeah.
So he says, I'm tuning in right now. I totally forgot. Is there a catch-up programme? Well, yeah, you can get it on the podcast, can't you, tomorrow?
The podcast will be... Well, I don't know when the podcast will be out on this, actually. It'll probably be out in the morning, I would imagine. It looks like final whistle has blown in Spain, and it looks as though Real Madrid have won by 3-1.
Despite the sending off.
Which I think you'd have to say, well, it was already about 80 minutes gone.
That's right.
When the game was... when Ronaldo was sent off. But you'd have to say, and there goes Suarez. You know, when I watch Suarez cheat like that, I don't want his team to win.
No, I don't either. I don't want him to win. Paul, who is a regular correspondent, has just clipped a picture of a diver. I mean, this guy looks like an Olympic diver.
That's great, though, isn't it?
Going through the ocean and saying, I just captured a picture of the live replay of Luis Suarez's dive. Yeah. And it is as obvious as that.
It is.
So, actually, that's a good bit of graphic. Well done.
Absolutely right. Yeah. Now, the manager that I want to tell you about as well that I thought looked terrific today, and that was Jose Mourinho. You know how we've been saying lately that he's been looking a bit old?
Frazzled.
A little bit frazzled. He's no longer the happy one. He's no longer the special one. Yeah. He seemed to have his old kind of mojo back today when I saw him being interviewed after the game. Yeah. You know, he's not stubbly anymore.
That's right.
So he's not showing his white beard. His hair seems to have got back under control. Right. And he was wearing a proper suit, and I thought he looked the business.
Well, I thought they were very impressive today, Manchester United, because they did the business. And what he got so much criticism for last season was not punching hard enough against teams at Old Trafford. That's why they had so many draws.
And also there was a sense that they weren't scoring enough goals.
That's right, exactly.
They were just rather sort of average.
Yeah, but I mean, lots of people were offering goals today, not just Martial and Lukaku. Yeah, Pogba scored the fourth, didn't he?
He did. And great goal, actually.
Yeah, it was a great goal, and he's the one of the most expensive players in the world.
Well, now that Neymar's gone to PSG, his deal looks like it's been dwarfed.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, but I say he's still one of the most expensive players in the world. In normal transfer dealings, he is still the most expensive player in the world. But having said that, and we've had a conversation about this already tonight, West Ham were appalling. I mean, I fear for West Ham this year. Well, I don't fear for them because I don't support them. But I mean, if I was a West Ham fan,
Well, you have to say...
I would be fearful.
You'd have to say Joe Hart, there's going to be an awful lot of pictures of Joe Hart picking the ball out the back of the net.
There are,
because they don't look as if they know how to defend.
And what a place to make your debut at Manchester United, because, remember, technically, he's still a Manchester City player.
Well, he was getting an awful lot of stick.
Yeah, well, of course he was. Manchester City reject. And actually, although that, the title reject is often used cruelly and viciously against players who've moved on, he is, in fact, a reject, because Pep Guardiola said, I don't want you around the club, push off.
I mean, the only thing that's been good for Joe Hart is that the people that have replaced him at Manchester City haven't been any good either.
No, exactly.
Which makes him probably feel slightly less bad.
Yeah.
But to have your first game for West Ham and to let in 4 goals, I don't care whose fault it was, it doesn't look good.
And also, Chiquito, or whatever his name is, the little P.
Chicharito.
Chiquito.
Huh?
Yeah. What is his real name?
Chicharito.
Javieres, is it? What's his real name?
Javieres.
Yeah, what's his real name?
What's
it's
your
Hernandez.
real name?
It's Hernandez. The real name is Hernandez.
Little P, you can
call
call
himself Little P and writes it on the back of his shirt in Spanish, right? Which is sort of mystery to me. Chicharito, that's right, yeah.
Well, here's one for you. Why does Dele Alli have Dele on the back of his shirt?
Because he didn't want to use the surname of his family for some name. I don't know.
But he uses it, though. He's called Dele Alli.
I know. I don't know. You've got to ask him. Sandro, who plays...
Yeah, but he's not sitting here opposite me doing a radio show, so I'm asking you.
Sandro, who plays for Everton, has Sandro on the back, even though that's his Christian name. A lot of the Continentals do that.
Yes.
Now, what I was going to say is, if you were the Little P today and you lined up in that Manchester United tunnel, which is the most impressive tunnel in the Premier League, because it's the width of a
jumbo jet.
Yeah, it's the width of a runway on an airport, and you come down to the dressing rooms. Wembley's pretty impressive, but the walk down onto the pitch at Old Trafford is quite spectacular.
Yeah.
Now, as he was walking down there today in a West Ham shirt, he must have thought to himself, I've got a point to prove today. But he didn't prove anything. He hardly got a touch at all. West Ham United amassed one feeble attempt on goal in 90 minutes.
Yes.
And frankly, they look poor. They look poor. As good as Manchester United were, West Ham United look poor. And he must now... understand what few players understand, the gulf in difference between being a Manchester United player, being a player of any other team, particular sort of, what you could describe as a mid-table team, is as wide as the width of the Atlantic Ocean.
Is that right?
It really is, yeah.
And that's your considered view?
Yeah, that's my considered view.
I do wonder whether Slaven Bilic may not last the season.
Well, because, I agree with you.
I don't think he looks... I don't know what happened to him, because for a while...
Beaten.
After the Euros last year, when he was such a great pundit, everyone thought Bilic is one of the great managers. He's got a great brain. Yeah. He's a very intelligent man.
Yes.
He speaks very many languages.
Yes, that's right.
However, he seems to have lost control of the old steering wheel of the clattering train of West Ham.
That's right.
Now, let me read you a couple of notes here.
Okay.
This is somebody who calls themselves Everton 1928, right? Hi, Mike. Please wish me and my wife a happy 50th wedding anniversary in Crete. We're listening. And that's from Donald and Sue. She's 87 years young today.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
Donald and Sue, 50 years together.
50, not only together, but 50 years married.
50 years married.
Imagine
my
that.
Goodness gracious. Well, many congratulations to both of you, Donald and Sue, and to your lovely wife, Sue, in particular. Very, very happy, 87th anniversary, so to speak.
Now, I've got this one from Mel.
Yeah.
And this is, my brother is a huge fan of yours, and we wanted to send him to the New York show for his 40th birthday. But unfortunately, work commitments meant this was not possible. Could we instead arrange a shout-out for your show on his birthday, which is on the 13th of August, which is today?
Yeah.
He turns 40. I know it would make his day to get mentioned by his two favourite guys. His name is Gary, and he's a top postie in Ely in Cambridgeshire.
Wow. Well, Gary...
And it's from Mel and Chris.
Mel and Chris send you best wishes. That's endorsed by myself and I'm sure by MG. Gary, have a great 40th birthday weekend. I assume that you've been on the grog for most of today and probably working tomorrow. Got to get up early, a postman. Ely is a beautiful town, fantastic cathedral. In one of the more civilized...
Eli-O, isn't it? Ely?
Ely. In one of the most or more civilised parts of this country.
Yes.
So, good man, thank you very much indeed. Well done.
It is.
You provide a useful service. Postmen are good people.
Postmen are very good people.
Yeah.
An awful lot of them listen to us. Now, we've got loads coming up, including Mark Donaldson in the next hour, because Hearts may have a new manager coming up in Edinburgh, and it might be a name that you're familiar with.
I want to manage the Scottish team in Edinburgh, Hearts.
It may not be Louis van Gaal, though.
Yeah.
This is Talk Sport. Talk Sport, we are the two mics. We've got loads coming up, including a vote, of course, on winners and losers, something we haven't done for quite some time. We're bringing it back. Now, I'm going to show you a picture here because somebody asked us what we thought of Pep Guardiola's attire.
Yeah.
There it is. He's obviously wearing sort of a pair of slacks,
yeah,
chino-type trousers.
They look too tight to me.
Quite tight, and he's wearing a jumper,
yeah,
and he looks like he's wearing sort of white trainers, doesn't he?
White trainers, yeah, very casual, I have to say, and I did object
He's
to
quite a stylish bloke, though, isn't he?
I did object to his, what I would call... what's the word I'm looking for? Casual look.
There's nothing wrong with looking casual.
I don't like the casual look. I prefer a manager to have a suit. I noticed yesterday both Mr. Koeman and the snowy-haired Mark Hughes in their technical areas both had suits on.
Yeah.
And I think the Tony Pulis style fashion for tracksuits and peak caps and all that kind of stuff is maybe going out of fashion.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah.
You better stop wearing one then.
Yeah.
A couple of people pointing out that St Johnstone actually playing Perth, which is up near a Tayside.
It certainly is. Yeah, it's nowhere near Glasgow,
it's
is
about 50 miles from Glasgow.
Yeah,
probably.
50 miles away.
I mean, everything's quite close in Scotland. That's the whole point.
Sure.
A couple of people here saying, here's one from Johnny. It says, when you said Suarez is up to his old tricks, I thought you'd chewed some bloke's ears off.
Well, I wouldn't put it past him. Now, what was I going to say? Oh,
I don't know what you were going to say.
Yeah, funny this. But over the weekend, a couple of avid listeners, I would say, and followers of both of us, expressed some concern about my mental condition after I inadvertently put out a BetSafe tweet saying Arsenal were playing Arsenal on Friday night.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah, in fact, we did talk about that on Saturday because you also put out a tweet saying that you were up at Everton, who were playing Southampton.
That's right. Yeah. And of course they play in red and white stripes, same as Stoke. So the thing is, there's so much going on in my head all the time, but occasionally facts get transposed.
This was your excuse on Saturday when we did a show when we were talking about that.
Yes.
Martin says this: Porky's well bladderated. He just did a Sean Connery impersonation at the end of his Scottish nonsense.
Yeah, that's right. Well, it wasn't actually. It was Steve McLaren.
Steve McLaren. We're talking to Mark Donaldson about that.
Now listen,
Gordon says, hang on. Gordon says Porky spent more on drink in the last 10 years than Ashley has spent on transfers.
That's a bit harsh.
That is a bit harsh, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Now then, what I was going to say to you is this, right? Do your two boys read Harry Potter books?
Yes, they do actually.
Right.
Or at least if you were to say, do they read Harry Potter books? They have read a couple.
Right.
Whether that changes now because they're getting a bit older. One of them's got a birthday coming up next week.
Yes.
And I suspect he may not read any more of them. Because they get into them usually around about the age of 9 or 10.
Right. Okay. Now the point is, are there going to be any more Harry Potter books?
Well, I don't think there can be. Can there?
Why?
Because she's already finished the whole Harry Potter series.
Has she?
Yeah.
Are you sure about this?
Yeah, the whole Harry Potter series is done
and
dusted.
He's not dead, is he?
No, but for example, the play which is currently ongoing in the middle of London is a sort of imaginary Harry Potter I think it's a prequel. I think it's meant to be about Harry Potter before he became Harry Potter or something like that.
But before he became a wizard, you mean?
But it's not a... It's not a continuation of the story, if you know what I mean. She basically finished the whole Harry Potter series.
Right.
They made them all into I think the final book was made into 2 films.
Right.
And supposedly that's the end of it.
Yeah, but you see, some publisher will come back to her in about 2 years' time and say, let's have another Harry Potter book.
No, but
that's the way they did.
No, but she doesn't want to write anymore. Well, she doesn't need any more money. I mean, she's wealthier than Croesus.
Yeah, but when you've created a phenomenon as big as Harry Potter, I think you will eventually say you've got to refresh it and keep it going.
Yeah, because I think she wants to write other things. I'm a bit like an actor doesn't want to be stereotyped as James Bond, Daniel Craig doesn't want to be James Bond all of his life.
The reason I ask all this is that J.K. Rowling, who of course is the author of Harry Potter, who used the initials J.K., by the way, because the publisher said nobody will buy a wizard book written by a woman, so we're going to call it J.K. Rowling, which is Joanne whatever.
Well, how wrong were they?
Catherine. Well, but I mean, she wasn't supposed to be known as a woman when the first books were sold, you see.
Really?
Yeah, but anyway.
Because I thought from the beginning, the whole story that was kind of romantic about the fact that she was English but had gone to Edinburgh. There was a single mother
had sat in a cafe, writing in longhand.
Yeah, exactly. I thought that was the whole legend of what went on.
I'm sure there's some element of truth in that, but when she eventually found a publisher, they said, we'll call you JK.
Yeah.
And she didn't object to it, and it's a very distinctive name anyway, isn't it?
Well, it is.
The point is, the reason I'm telling you this is because there's a new TV thriller coming out, and it's in fact all written by J.K. Rowling. She has gone now into writing, scripts for a great TV thing.
Okay, what's the story about that?
It's called The Cuckoo's Calling.
Yeah.
And it's adapted from books she's written, obviously. 2 sequels are adapted into BBC TV series. The reclusive right reveals, why she's sort of moved into this and all this kind of stuff. But
she is somebody who is, if you're a TV company or you're a Hollywood film producer, if J.K. Rowling writes something, you're going to buy it, aren't you?
Oh, absolutely.
Because you're going to go, well, this woman knows how to tell a story.
That's right, and it's a crime thriller about a private detective.
Okay. Is it based in Edinburgh?
She wrote the books under the pseudonym Robert Galbraith.
Oh yes, I remember that.
She wouldn't be,
because she didn't want an unfair advantage.
No, well, she just wanted to see if independently she could take off again. Took 3 months for her cover to be blown, but now it's all known. And she is the creator now of what is described as a troubled private eye in a dark, highly toxic world, and that's what it's going to all be about.
Yeah, right. Sounds a bit like sort of Taggart, or
it does. Yeah,
or something like the Ian Rankin one.
Yes, that's right. Yeah,
Rebus.
Yeah, Rebus.
Although they were both
right,
cops, weren't they?
Yeah, they were both cops. That's right. But so I think that's incredible that she's coming back. But I mean, if you took, say, Enid Blyton, she just kept writing Secret 7 books, one after the other, until she died. Yeah, and same with the Famous Five.
Yeah, but I mean that's different, isn't it? In a way.
Not really. It's exactly the same creation, isn't it? You create a series of books and
because the thing about Harry Potter, and funnily enough, there's people arguing about it even as we speak all the time on Twitter. Is Harry Potter's books are possibly written for children, but an awful lot of grown-up people read them.
Yeah, I've never.
Whereas you wouldn't read an Enid Blyton book, would you?
No, you wouldn't. Because
they're kids' books. I mean, I wouldn't. I don't think my kids would even read them now.
No, of course they wouldn't. No,
because they're too old-fashioned and kind of quaint.
Well, they're from a bygone age when they used words like smashing and super and. Fizzy orange and all that kind of stuff.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Lashings of peanut butter or something.
Yes, lashings of peanut butter.
Or was it lashings of something else?
Lashings of something else, I think.
Yeah, I can't remember.
It wasn't peanut butter. Lashings of jam.
They wouldn't have had peanut butter, would they?
No.
Steve in London says, I remember Alf Ramsey wore a tracksuit in 1966. He didn't do too bad. Steve, you've got to stop going on about 1966.
Yeah, exactly.
A very long time ago, one. And nobody's saying there's anything wrong with wearing a tracksuit. We're just noticing that Antonio Conte last year used to wear very sharp suits.
That's right, yeah.
Now, for some reason, he's wearing a tracksuit.
That's right.
Why would you suddenly do that? I don't know. It's like Porky suddenly wearing a tracksuit to come into work.
Yeah, that's right, which I wouldn't do.
No.
Not only did Alf Ramsey wear a tracksuit, but so did his first assistant, a guy called Harold Shepherd.
Oh, yeah.
Who was the Middlesbrough coach, Middlesbrough trainer, physio or something, and he was Alf's right-hand man. And they both wore tracksuits on the bench.
I've seen Ronald Koeman wearing both a suit and a tracksuit.
Well, I've seen him wear a tracksuit in training, but I think he always wears a suit on match days.
And Jurgen Klopp, who you were talking about earlier, you were saying
he's
that
tracksuit, isn't he?
He tends to wear a tracksuit, doesn't he, on the sidelines?
Yeah, exactly.
And Slaven Bilic, I think I've seen him wearing both.
Yeah, I have as well.
I wouldn't mind hearing from some West Ham fans. What about you?
Do you know what? I want to hear from West Ham fans. Moving on to Slaven Bilic, because look, you West Ham fans out there, the number is 08717.
Yes.
223344. That's the non-mangled mouth version of the number, which MG will give you again in a second.
I will.
But quite frankly, if you're a West Ham fan, you've got a fear for your club this season because, you got absolutely thrashed by Manchester United today. No shame in going to Old Trafford and getting beaten, but to get beaten 4-0 and to show such spineless reaction, didn't create one single chance, really, that could be said to have been a threat to the United goal. Yeah. And you got walloped by a team that's still pulling itself together, with new players like Lukaku.
Yes.
You didn't do very well, and frankly, Mr. Bilic's, sort of resigned expression at the end made you wonder whether his heart is actually still wholly in the job.
You do wonder, because he basically his excuse was they were much better than we were.
Yes, that's right. That's what he said.
Which is true.
Yeah.
But surely he's supposed to have a better team than he had last year.
Yes.
I worry that maybe they're not as good as they were last year. 08717 223344. Andy says this, the Harry Potter play is set 19 years after the films and the books. It's about Harry's kids.
Yep.
My wife made me go see it. Well, you're lucky you can get tickets because it was sold out, I think, for about a year or something ridiculous.
That's right.
Other people saying that, well, of course, it's about when Harry Potter's at school, so how can it be continued? But if you've got any kind of creative scenario, why couldn't you follow him into his first job?
That's right.
Or follow him to university.
Well, why can't he be head boy of Hogwarts in the next one? And
but he's left Hogwarts. That's the point.
Well, he could go to the Wizard University, which would be a whole new chapter of his life.
Well, it could be. Yeah, maybe you should write some kind of sequel.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Wizard University. How about that? What would you call it? You could call it Warlockville.
Warlockville, very good.
Yeah.
You see, you've got a whole thing going here.
Yeah, absolutely.
She'd probably sue you, though, wouldn't she?
Probably she would, yeah. Now then, our friends,
Time, by the way.
Donald and Sue.
Who? Donald and Sue.
Donald and Sue, married 50 years.
Yes.
You got that wrong.
No, I didn't.
They've been married 60 years.
Hey?
They've just sent a correction note saying, sorry, Mike, they're talking to you, MG. That is 60 years wed, not 50.
Oh, is that right?
Love Donald and Sue up the Everton. They're Everton fans, which is brilliant.
Well, they must.
You didn't tell me their handle was Everton's 1966.
I did. I told you that.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You just weren't listening. And in fact, I also said that I just read out their whatever they'd said to me. So if they've got it wrong, they said they'd been wed for 50 years.
Well, it's now 60.
So now you're having a go at them.
No, I'm not. I'm what a wonderful couple. They must have got married when they were 17. It's an awful long time to be together.
Yeah.
60 years.
Now, how about this from Johnny? He says, well said, MG. I was saying in the pub earlier that Jose has got that sparkle back in his eyes. Just like you guys.
Yes, that's right. We always have a sparkle in our eyes.
I've never seen a sparkle in Porky's eyes.
No, the secret barrister, which is quite a good handle, isn't it? You know, because he's probably not a barrister anyway.
Well, I don't know.
Going on about the presumption of innocence, I thought he might have been talking about the dive, but in fact he's talking about all these guys over in Charlottesville who are...
What are you reading that out for?
Well, I don't know.
Well, he hasn't sent it to you, has he?
No, Julia Hartley-Brewer retweeted it, so I'm suddenly looking at it and thinking...
So why are you following her?
Well, I'm not following her. It's the secret barrister. No, I'm not.
You don't follow Julie Hartley-Brewer?
I don't think I do.
Well, I think you must do.
I might do.
You must do, otherwise you wouldn't see what she retweets.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah. Misinterpreted that one, then.
Something very curious going on here.
Yes.
We'll try and get to the bottom of it. Coming up next, though, is Mark Donaldson. This is TalkSport. We are the two mics. Of course, you're just watching Ronaldo taking his jumper off again and showing off his rather toned body, ridiculously toned body, actually, I'd have to say. Now, the golf is on, of course. Justin Thomas is still leading. He's on the 16th hole. We will be talking to Bob Bupker throughout the show about all of that. I'm going to ask you in a minute as well about this bizarre picture that's been going around on Twitter of you and some woman earlier on
What do you mean, some woman?
Today. Well, I don't know who she is.
Her name is Steph, and she's the assistant manager at the Cock and Bull in Sutton.
The Cock and Bull?
Where,
so you're local?
Where we had a promotion with Porky Scratchings. No, it's not my local. No. It's a pub in the nearest town.
Well, she didn't look particularly happy to see you.
She looked very happy. I put out a second picture later in which she was smiling a bit. But,
she's not smiling in this one.
You know, I got all the usual nonsense from people. Oh, she's terrified, Porky. We've done it. Well, at least my, roaming right hand didn't...
Your roaming right hand
stretch around her waist and lift up her blouse.
You've got a roaming right hand around her shoulder, which actually looks hideous.
As was the case when you last had your picture taken with a young lady who, in fact, was the Winebird.
The Winebird, yeah. Well, she was very happy about that. Don't worry about that. Now let's talk to Mark Donaldson because he's with us. He's with ESPN as well, of course. Not in his capacity as a golf correspondent or a tennis correspondent, but in his capacity as a Hearts correspondent because they might be getting themselves a new manager. Mark, a very good evening to you.
Good evening, gents. How are you both?
Very well indeed, thank you.
We're very well. Just enjoying watching. Had a couple of decent football matches to watch. The Barcelona-Real Madrid game, which was quite tasty, and also Neymar's debut in the French league.
Yeah, against Guingamp. And which game was I commentating on today? Saint-Trudan against Standard Liège in the Belgian league.
Oh, right.
Hey.
Well, you never know. You might.
That's what we do. I'm not complaining.
Exactly right. And sometimes it's a good place to spot the odd Belgian who's likely to come. In fact, Porky was telling me that there's an Italian either playing in the Belgian league or a Belgian playing in the Italian league who might be coming to Everton.
Yeah, and the weird thing was there were only 3 Belgians on show today.
Right.
And we've spoken, the 3 of us have spoken before about the lack of English players in the Premier League and what harm it could do the national team. Well, the lack of Belgians in the Belgian league isn't exactly harming the Belgian national team, is it?
No, it's definitely not. They're doing okay under Roberto Martinez.
Yes, there's always a connection to Everton, isn't there?
There is indeed.
Now, what about this story about the Hearts Football Club and Mr. Stephen McClaren?
Yeah, Steve McClaren, he's managed in Holland and he's managed the England national team, and now he goes maybe to the Hearts, and he becomes the manager of Hearts, and he says, I think I can get a tune out of the Hearts team as long as it does not sound like the bagpipes. Ha 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 ha.
That's clips of the week sorted for Friday.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Look. Mike, you and I worked together in Edinburgh, and as Porky's just said, his Dutch accent left a little bit to be desired. I'm not sure what his Gorgie/Dalry/ Morningside/Stockbridge accent is going to be like if he comes north.
Yes.
Look, let's clarify something. Why is Steve McClaren linked with Hearts? Steve McClaren's agent is John Colquhoun. John Colquhoun's really tight with Craig Levein, the Hearts director of football.
Right.
John Colquhoun is a football agent. That's why Steve McClaren has been linked with Hearts.
I see.
Right,
I didn't realise Craig Levein was still up there because, I mean, it's not been a great period for him to have stewarded the director of football job over, is it?
Well, he did well with Robbie Nielsen underneath him, and he helped appoint Robbie Nielsen, and Robbie did well before moving south to MK Dons. And then I don't have a problem with Ian Castro and the way it came about because it was something that was a calculated gamble. Ultimately, it didn't work out. He was a lad who'd worked for Nuno Espirito Santo at Valencia. He'd worked under Rafa Benitez at Newcastle. But he hadn't been a manager, so they tried him out. He was 31, and it didn't work. And kudos to Hearts for realising they couldn't continue anymore because I'm not sure many of the TalkSport listeners realise Hearts fans put a lot of money into the club every month, and it helps to keep them afloat. And in the end, then club ownership, Hearts fans will own the club, so they'll have a say in it. And the bottom line was the Hearts board was concerned that the funding would stop, the direct deposits would stop every month, and if Ian Castro remained in charge. So that's where we are right now with Craig Levein as director of football, John Daly as interim head coach, and they've got a win at Kilmarnock on Saturday, and a list of potential managers that includes, how about this? Yeah. These are guys who've either applied or been linked with the job. Steve McClaren, Fabrizio Ravanelli, Edgar Davids, and Eddie Boothroyd.
Yeah, that's a pretty impressive list. That's a pretty impressive list, isn't it?
Is it, though?
Well, apart from Craig Davids.
Yeah. Well, no, their names are all well known as footballers, but not as managers particularly, apart from McClaren. Really,
yes,
right?
That's right, yeah.
But think about who they're coming to, or who they would be coming to. We're not in Europe, Hearts, because it was a poor season under Ian Castro after he took over. We didn't qualify for Europe, and even if we did, we would have been out by now anyway, probably, given the Scottish record apart from Celtic and Aberdeen. So, I mean, these are guys who... I mean, Steve McClaren's an interesting one for me. Why would he want the Hearts job? The Celtic job is the one to have. Brendan Rodgers has got it. Yeah. Then it's the Rangers job. Pedro Caixinha's got it, and he's under pressure after a home defeat against Hibs and various other results.
Yeah.
Derek McInnes turned down Sunderland, remember, because Martin Bain is there as the guy who was hiring and firing. He turned down Sunderland to stay at Aberdeen. He was approached and he was offered the job and he said no. Then comes Hearts. So why would someone like Steve McClaren want the job?
Well, because any job is a job, isn't it, in football management these days?
Well, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so if a League Two club came in for Steve McClaren, would he take it? No, probably not. No. I love the fact that Steve McClaren's linked with my club, and I would take him in a heartbeat as well. Yeah. Because for all the negatives, and the Derby fans saying, oh, we had this, and the Middlesbrough fans saying, oh, we had this, he got them to a European final. He won the league at FC Twente, and people mock him for the accent, understandably so. But he won the league there, but he's kind of derided as the Wally with the Brawley.
Yeah, exactly.
Take him at heart.
Well, he's hard. He's hard. It's hard for him to get rid of that, though.
Of course, it is,
would he be allowed to bring anybody else with him? Does he bring people with him when he goes to these places?
Here's the issue, because on BT Sport a few times last season, certainly once at Aberdeen, they highlighted the fact that notes were being passed down. You were speaking, Mike, earlier about Craig Levein. Yeah. Notes were being passed down from Craig Levein to the technical area to Ian Castro. That happened under Robbie Nielsen as well. It just wasn't highlighted when Hearts were winning games because Hearts lost that day at Aberdeen. There was phone-ins and goodness knows what else. He's a director of football. Craig Levein has a choice to make. He either appoints someone like John Daly, who's the interim charge, and some would say he would be a puppet, but he would do what he was told by Craig Levein, or he goes for someone like Steve McClaren, and he'd have to step away from his involvement in that. Now, I like Craig Levein, but he can be stubborn, and he'll admit that himself. Is he willing to step away from not what he does, because, by the way, there's a lot of work that he does at Hearts in the youth, because that was a mess after administration. I think if he's to concentrate on that and allow someone to come in and be manager, I think that structure could work, but it all depends on how much hands-on Craig Levein wants going forward.
OK, now just looking at another element of Scottish football here, Mark. What's this debate about the old firm is now gone forever? It's finished.
Well, that's because Celtic fans don't believe that Rangers is actually Rangers.
Exactly. So what I'm saying is that not wiping out nearly 150 years of Scottish football tradition? And mustn't all fans, including Celtic fans, hope that the old firm does return? Because if it doesn't, it's going to weaken, forever the Scottish Premier League.
OK, do you remember about a month ago, the three of us spoke on TalkSport, And not like you guys, I think there were 4 little pieces of dynamite you threw in, and you saw how I tried to deal with them. And I thought I coped okay. They didn't explode in my face. This is the biggest piece of dynamite.
Well, so what did happen to your face if it wasn't that explosion that
was the night you had to come out.
Radio, Porky. You know that.
Yeah, that was the night we went out for a curry together.
That's right, yeah. So, yeah.
Exactly. So, do you want me to get involved with that? You would need a whole show. And by the way, you would have phone lines light up with callers based on that. I mean, that's
and it's incredibly boring, actually. I mean, see, I've been involved in a bit of an exercise over the last few weeks. I'll occasionally tweet out something that mentions the old firm, and then just watch everybody go mad. It's ridiculous. It's absolute madness, isn't it?
I mean, look, the issue that we had at the weekend, and I'm watching from afar like everyone else. Rangers fans, Rangers 18, I think it's Club 1872, have put out a statement deriding Neil Lennon for daring to react to the comments that were thrown at him from the Rangers fans at the weekend. Neil's now the head coach at Hibs, and he reacted. I mean, I don't know, I wasn't there, but I've seen it, and he kind of turned around, he cupped his ears, and I don't know what else he did. They've come out and said, this is a disgrace, this is an absolute disgrace, inciting a riot. Now, there's a bit of culpability here from some of the Rangers fans that were goading him. So, if you goad someone, I mean, Porky, if there's an Everton player you didn't like and you had a right go at him, is he not allowed to even do anything, cup his ears to you if he scores or anything?
Yeah,
there's going to be a bit of give and take here.
Absolutely.
Well, common sense, which I think you and I both know, Mark, is very sadly lacking when you get into these kind of conversations. But you're absolutely right. And I mean, it's a very complicated issue, and I don't particularly want to waste the airtime on it, to be honest. What I would rather get from you, before we leave you, though, is your recommendation for the USPGA. And who do you think is going to walk off with it at the end? Because it's pretty tight out there.
So there's a guy I follow, sportinglife.com, called Ben Coley, and he had 5 bets, 5 guys he put up. I placed a bet on 4 of them. The other guy who I couldn't get a bet on, his odds came down, and I didn't put a bet on him. Who was that guy? Justin Thomas.
Oh, really?
So I'm now sitting with my TV off, with no interest whatsoever, because I'm scared that the one guy out the 5 I didn't put money on is going to walk away. So please tell me that he's not having. I know he was 1 shot clear, so I'd like you to tell me that.
He's still 1 shot clear at 8 under. And I think he's now on the 17th or something like that.
And on bets, by the way, Mark, you will have heard that I made the most fantastic prediction of the season already in the first week this weekend when I said that my treble results, Everton to win at home.
You were no way confident it was going to happen.
I was very confident. Everton to win at home, Manchester United to win at home. Of course, they both came in 1-0, 4-0. And Burnley to win away at Chelsea. How about that for a prediction? They were 3-0 up at half-time.
If you throw enough darts at the dartboard, one of them hits.
No, I knew there was...
Look, what is it they say, Porky? A broken clock is right twice a day. Let's go on.
Yeah, and a broken face sometimes has difficulty talking, and a jaw's broken.
Let's go on record right here, right now. Congratulations for your predictions this weekend.
Thank you.
But will Everton finish in the top 6? I say no.
Yes.
This season. What do you say?
They will finish in the top 6 and probably better, and we will win one of the 2 cups, FA Cup or League Cup.
They'll be 7th.
No.
They're always 7th.
No, not at all.
They'll not be in the top 6.
Well, I'm sorry, but you're wrong there. And at the end of the season, when I prove you wrong, I shall grind your face into the miserable dust of Connecticut.
Do you realise that Mark Donaldson's about twice as height of you?
Yeah, OK. Well, the bigger they are, the harder they fall, OK?
Yeah, but all he has to do is lean on you and you fall over.
No. I would weave and bob and duck and get out of his way. Don't worry. I know where to hit somebody when they're as voluminous as him.
Yeah, in the back, probably. Mark, listen, appreciate it. Thank you very much indeed.
Yes.
We shall wish you luck on the golf as well.
Yes.
Mark Donaldson there from ESPN telling us that he would welcome Steve McLaren going to Hearts.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Because why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're Hearts, it's not exactly, you're not exactly in a buyer's market.
I have promised the chairman I will not bring my brolly with me.
Yes.
I think
he might need his brolly
in Edinburgh.
Blue Magoo says this, and he's done a close-up of your hand, right, on the shoulder of that woman called Stephanie.
That's right.
And he says, it looks like one of those grabber claws in the amusement arcades.
Yeah, I know, ridiculous.
Horrid.
I just treat women with the reverential respect they deserve. I don't maul them when they're having a picture taken with me.
Yeah, really?
Yes.
We shall see. Well, we may have to come up with some other evidence if that's what you're going to be saying.
Did I tell you about the bus I was on in Liverpool, by the way?
Yes, you told me already.
Great, though. I'd love to hear from some of the people who were on the bus, because we had a great little party on the way into town.
OK, all right. Maybe you should tell the story again and everyone can hear it again.
That's right, yeah.
Coming up next, though, we're going to do the Porky Sermon, because it's that time.
Indeed.
The trouble with this song is, even though it's about on the buses,
yes,
people associate it now with Clips of the Week, don't they?
Yes, they do, yeah.
But Ollie thought you'd play it just because, you were going on about being on the bus.
Yes, exactly.
But you've already told the story, so I don't know what else you can say.
What do you mean?
You said you were on a bus.
Well, yeah, we're on a bus
going to Lime Street.
Liverpool City
Centre. How long does it take?
Took about 15 minutes.
That's all.
And it was a bus of great frolic and
fun. Well, the way
you
described it, you'd think it was going on for hours.
No, well, it seemed like hours. You know, it was about 15 or 20 minutes because it was stuck in traffic and all that kind of stuff. But I got a lot of great response from people, and they all said to me, next time we're on the radio, just say how nice it was for us all to have got together on that little bus journey back into town. So if you're listening, thanks very much for joining me. It was great.
All right. That music would suggest that we are now in Porky Sermon territory.
Yes, definitely.
Some suggested that it might be better to do it closer to midnight, so it might be like midnight mass.
Right, okay.
But we also want to make sure we're still in Sunday,
definitely,
right? Because after midnight becomes Monday.
Indeed.
Now, as usual, if you haven't heard this show before on a Sunday, what we do is we read a passage from the good book.
Yes.
In this case, Matthew 6, verses 24 and 25.
Oh, I know it.
I will read it to you, and then you will interpret it, please, for the modern world.
Yes.
That everybody lives in.
Okay.
And it starts thus. No man can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. Ye cannot serve God and mammon. Therefore I say unto you, take no thought for your life, what ye shall eat, or what ye shall drink, nor yet for your body, what ye shall put on. It is not the life more than meat, and the body than raiment.
Yeah, okay.
So that's the passage from the Bible.
Right.
We'd like you now to tell us what it means.
I'll tell you exactly what this means.
Yeah,
okay. No man can serve two masters, really hate the one and love the other. Therefore I said, you take no thought.
You're supposed to have been listening to it.
Yeah, I did listen to it. I'm just digesting the words. Now, do you know what this is?
No.
Do you know who this is about?
Who's it about?
Amazingly, this is about Joe Hart.
Is
okay?
it?
Yeah, this is about Joe Hart.
Okay.
Because no man can serve two masters. This has been plucked from the good book today. And
at random, completely.
Completely at random, but mystically and cosmically.
Yes.
Because I do believe in the cosmos, you know what I mean?
The cosmos.
This relates to Joe Hart. No man can serve two masters. And therefore, Joe Hart has, unfortunately, a split mind in terms of loyalties.
Yeah.
Does he have loyalties to the club that actually hold his registration, which is Manchester City, and who pay half his wages, I understand it, for playing for his second master, West Ham. And West Ham, of course, ruled by Mr. Gold, Mr. Sullivan,
Karen
Brady, that's right. So who really, truly are his masters? It says, for either he will hate the one and love the other. Now, what that means is he is very resentful by the way he's been treated by Manchester City. And that's not by the Manchester City board. That is by one man only. That's Pep Guardiola.
Yes.
Who has...
It doesn't like him.
Well, he's frankly rubbished him. He's rubbished his talent as a goalkeeper. He's rubbished his position at Manchester City. So we go on, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other.
Yes.
Now, I think this, again, means that he has nothing but despair and despicability. Despicability for Pep Guardiola.
Yes.
Because, of course, he feels he should still be between the sticks of Manchester City. Yeah. Therefore...
Did he not say just a few days ago that he didn't care what Pep Guardiola thought of him? Because he could tell he was quite hurt by what's been said.
That's right. So he has now embraced Slaven Bilic and the board of West Ham for yet again reviving his career.
Oh, yeah.
Ye cannot serve God and mammon. Well, that's right. You can't actually have equimanicable feelings towards the two.
Is that right?
And the two here are Manchester City and West Ham. No. Therefore I say unto you, take no thought for your life, what ye shall eat or what ye shall drink. So what he's saying is here, actually, at the end of the day, because I've been treated so badly, I don't care. I take the money and play.
Yeah.
You know? Loyalties don't come into it. Like a mercenary.
Yeah.
Nor yet for your body. So what he's saying is, am I going to put my body on the line for somebody who really doesn't want me? That's Manchester City.
Oh, I thought you were going to say that's why I let 4 goals in.
No. Or am I going to put my body on the line for somebody who's just borrowing me from my employers? It's a very strange situation. what ye shall put on. Is not the life more than meat and the body than raiment?
Yeah, what's raiment?
Raiment is sustenance, okay?
Yeah.
The body than raiment means sustainability.
Okay.
And what he's basically saying there is, I just have to get on with life, therefore my loyalties to anybody do not matter anymore.
Oh, yeah.
I'm in fact trapped in the ether. And the ether is not a good place to be.
No, it's not.
Okay?
And that is the Porky Sermon.
That's the Porky Sermon, Midnight Mass, Matthew 6, 24, 25. Amazingly, these passages are picked out and fitted what is a distinctively troublesome episode in the world of sports, which, of course, we concentrate here on TalkSport.
Indeed. That was the Porky Sermon.
Yes.
Here ended the lesson.
Yes.
TalkSport, we are the two mics. Mr. Parry says Martin in Worksop. Alf Ramsey's assistant was Harold Shepherdson.
That's right.
Not Shepherd.
No, that's right.
A couple of people have pointed that out.
Yes.
Here's one from Velvet Ears. He says the two mics need to do a TalkSport or a talk radio show from a bus.
A bus?
Yeah.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, we're going to find one.
Well, we could do.
Yeah,
do you know what somebody sent me a tweet about the other day?
Right.
Apparently, Panama City has an airport, right?
Right.
And the Panama City airport code is MPMG.
Is it really?
Apparently so.
Ah.
So the guy that told me this said, why don't you go to Panama City Airport and do a show from there? I think that's a great idea.
Great idea, yeah.
Should we not go and do that?
Well, I can't see the point of it, but
Why?
I mean, just because it's MPMG, I mean, what else happens in Panama City? Nothing.
Well, is it not a destination for some rather dodgy kind of money laundering type?
Well, I don't think so. I mean, it's obviously the Panama Canal runs through Panama City. That's why it's there. Yeah, that's right.
Well, it runs through Panama. I don't know about running it through Panama
City.
It
does, yeah, it does.
Well, have you been to Panama City?
No, but I know. I studied my geographical charts.
No, you know the Panama Canal goes through Panama.
Yeah, that's right.
It may not go through Panama City.
It does. It goes through a suburb of Panama City. Believe me, I know these things. My father went through it during the war.
What, your dad went through the Panama Canal?
Yeah.
Why?
Several times in the Royal Navy. Because he was in the Royal Navy.
I thought he was in D-Day. The landings.
Well, you know, the landings took place in 1944.
Yes.
My father joined the Royal Navy in 1940.
Okay.
So he had 4 years to get through the Panama Canal.
4 years messing about in South America, there wasn't a war going on.
No. He's India, Australia, everywhere. And in fact, he told me...
you were having a go at my father for being in India during the war.
No, not at all. He was roaming the Indian Ocean, trying to blow up German ships.
Okay.
And knock German
So being in
planes
India
out
was
of the
not
sky.
necessarily a bad thing.
It wasn't if you were in the Royal Navy.
Well, it wasn't if you were in the Royal Air Force either, because you had to travel and fly people around all the place.
Yeah, well, you say that, but...
well, no, I say that because that's what he was doing.
Do you know my dad told me, going through the Panama Canal, a couple of the sailors had to lie on their backs on the side of the boat and use their feet to stop the boat crashing into the side of the Panama Canal.
Are you
it's
sure?
that narrow. Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah, certain.
Well, rubbish.
No, certain.
Absolute cobblers.
No, it's true.
Yeah, it's more tales of daring do from your old man.
No, not at all. Not at all.
He was obviously just a fantasist like you.
Yeah,
let's talk to Bob Bupka. Bob.
Well, before I give you the results here, how about if I tell you I enjoyed going through the Panama Canal?
Right.
It was quite an experience, believe me.
Yeah.
And right here, Justin Thomas has a putt for a par, which would clinch the title, but a bogey will do. It rolls down to the cup just a few seconds ago, stops a foot away. Justin Thomas is going to win the 99th playing of the PGA Championship.
Wow. Now, what a great time to come to you there, Bob, where we could actually hear the guy winning it even as we speak. Now, let's go back to the Panama Canal, though. How narrow is the Panama Canal?
It's very narrow. I was on a cruise ship that was 997 feet long.
Right.
The biggest ship that can fit in the Panama Canal is 1,000 feet. Right. So we only had 3 feet clearance.
Yeah.
But it was fascinating because all of a sudden when they open that lock, we see another ship that's on the opposite side start going up, and all of a sudden you're looking straight up at a cruise ship that a minute ago was alongside of you in the water. It's something that everybody should see. I really mean that. It's one of the more fascinating things that I've ever witnessed in my life.
Yeah, I think we should go and do it. We were talking about it because of the fact that Panama City's airport has our initials as its code. So we thought we must go there and do something about it, really.
Definitely.
Well, I would highly encourage both of you going there.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, Mike and Mike from the Panama Canal has an awfully nice ring to it.
Doesn't it just? I think you're absolutely right.
Does.
Bob, thank you very much indeed.
Bob
Bubka there reporting in to us from a Quail Hollow. Where Mr. Thomas has just won the US PGA.
That's right.
Which will mean, presumably, yet another major won by somebody who's never won a major before.
Is that right?
It keeps happening in golf, isn't it?
It's the first time one, is it? Yeah.
Well, no, it's the first time he's won a major.
What I mean,
But what I'm saying is that the last 14 or so majors have been won by somebody who's never previously won a major.
Right, okay.
Which is quite a remarkable
That is quite remarkable,
really, isn't it?
Yeah. That's right. Now then.
Here's one from Philip who says, "What the hell are you doing here, boys? This is random in the best way." Raiments, by the way, means garments.
Garments, yes, I know that, yes.
That's not what you said it was.
Oh, no, I did, don't worry. It was in context, that's all. Now, I need to tell you something about my old pal Liam Gallagher.
Yes.
Liam Gallagher has finally accepted that perhaps he's not very good.
Are you going to start up another feud?
Well, no. I mean, when I suggested that, perhaps it was his brother who had the majority of talent in the group Oasis, in which they both performed very admirably, made themselves worldwide famous, and Liam Gallagher, as always said, is one of the great frontmen in the history of rock and roll and pop music. But listen to this. Liam's got a new album coming out called As You Were.
Yes.
That's how he finishes off now on a hashtag all his Twitter messages, okay?
Yes.
But he has admitted and come to terms for the first time with the fact that maybe he isn't very good on his own, and maybe it won't sell, and if it doesn't, maybe he won't go on tour because the last thing he wants to do is play to empty houses. And he's been completely pragmatic about it. Listen to this.
Well, presumably also he doesn't like the idea that his brother is able to play bigger venues.
Exactly. Well, listen to this. The former Oasis frontman has vowed to quit music if his debut solo album and the subsequent tour flops. Speaking ahead of the autumn launch of As You Were, Liam said, if the album comes out and it bombs, there's no real point doing another one, is there? There's no point going through the rigmaroles of interviews and touring if no one wants it. Touring is hard, especially at this age, and especially if no one turns up.
Yes.
I guess I'll do something else. I can always write music in my own house for my own pleasure. I won't change genre. I won't do an EDM track to jump on that bandwagon. What's EDM?
I don't know.
An EDM track?
An EDM track.
Yeah,
I don't know what that is.
I don't know.
It's some music business
to
title.
jump on that bandwagon and just to stay in the limelight, as they say. Liam, who recently hit the headlines after calling James Corden a fat, and then a word I can't use on a
and that was so
show.
ridiculous, right? Because Corden, I don't know whether Corden himself invited him on, or somebody said you should go on James Corden Carpool Karaoke.
That's right.
He's incredibly popular,
of course,
and also very funny.
It's one of the world's most famous funny sequences.
Yeah. And why wouldn't you want to do it?
I don't know. And he said, when asked if he fancied to spin on the TV host Carpool Karaoke, he admitted his abrasive personality made him a divisive figure. He referred to James Corden as the fat guy from the TV series.
Yes. Apparently, by the way, it's electronic dance music, that EDM.
Oh, electronic dance music, thank you. Yeah, electronic dance music, I still don't get it.
I didn't realise that you had a special kind of acronym for it.
Yeah, well, I didn't either, no. Yeah. Now, the Mancunian, for that is what Liam Gallagher is.
He is.
Who previously performed with his band Beady Eye, said there'll be a lot of people who will hate my record without listening to it just because it's me. He's kind of getting the drift of things now, that he can be, rather aggressive and unpleasant.
He's practiced that art all of his life, hasn't he? And I think it's not much of an act, to be honest. I think he just is rather unpleasant.
That's right. And he risked the wrath of estranged brother Noel by insisting he was still entitled to perform Oasis songs, even though Noel wrote most of them. So that's the first time that we've got that sorted.
Yeah, well, he's told you in the past that he wrote Don't Look Back in Anger,
he did, yeah. He said, how about Don't Look Back in Anger, yeah. Liam said, Noel is only a vessel in all of this, and so am I, without sounding like some sort of spiritual dude. The songs do not belong to him, to me, they belong to everyone.
Yeah.
Whenever I write a song, I believe it is sent to me and passed through me to be given to whoever. It's getting a bit spiritual, this
He is
now.
getting a bit spiritual.
It's like he's the second coming,
I think you might need to lay off some of this psychedelic substances.
Yeah, that's right.
You know what I mean?
He says, I'm feeling the emotions on the songs and I cannot explain it. I do not feel they are just his, but they are the universe's. Well, that's a good way of saying they're not mine.
Yeah, well, which part of the universe gets the royalties?
Exactly,
I think that would be my question.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk to Luke, who's a West Ham fan.
Indeed.
He disagrees with you about Slaven Bilic, all right?
Yeah.
Luke, a very good evening to you.
Good evening.
Hi, Luke. What's up, Luke? What do you want to talk about?
I just want to ask you about for West Ham for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
I mean, how can you say that after, obviously, the only first game?
Well, what was your impression of the game? What did you feel as a West Ham fan? When I went to Everton yesterday at Goodison, I came away with a glow. You know, we won, Rooney scored, 3 points, first game of the season. How did you feel?
Obviously disappointed, coming away with a defeat of 4-0. I do agree with that, but obviously it's the first game of the season. We had about 4 of our main players out today. You can see we're missing creativity there. I think Hernandez done superb as much as he could.
He didn't do much though, did he?
I still think he did. He was coming back to defence almost to get the ball because the boys in the middle of the field weren't doing their job. Obiang, Fernandez, absolutely terrible. No ball was carrying them most of the game. You got Masuaku as well. He was poor. Everyone else, I think our 4 new signings played well. Hart didn't have a chance, to be fair, with any of those goals United scored. I mean, once them boys were through on goal, he didn't have much chance.
But you saw Lukaku's header, right? He wasn't even being marked by anyone. Right? Now, if you are a West Ham fan, you'd be completely, utterly bereft about that, wouldn't you? Because surely, first day of the season, they should be ready. They should be full of energy. They should be full of, ability. They should be absolutely up for the cup. But in fact, he had a free header.
That's the one thing I agree with you there. With I didn't actually see who was mucking Lukaku until you mentioned earlier on the radio. It's Masuaku.
Right.
It should be Reed or of Bono on him. Literally touch tight. It's the same with this zonal marking and man marking. Going back to that, you got to touch tight, arms length. You know, I'm a centre back. I don't agree with that zonal marking.
Yeah, but what about
that second goal was
what about your manager afterwards, Slaven Bilic? I mean, he, to all intents and purposes, he'd just given up. He just said, they're much better than us. You know, what could we do? How can you play against a team that's got so many quality players? I mean, I thought it was defeatism of the worst sort.
Yes.
I mean, again, I didn't hear the full-time speech because we've literally just got back to Reading now.
Yeah.
Haven't heard what Bilic had to say. I'm hoping to listen to that.
We'll see whether we can play some of that out for you. But the problem is, Luke, is that Bilic was kind of the great new messiah for West Ham. But that all seems to have disappeared now, dissipated. He doesn't seem to now have as great a relationship with the owners, it seems to me, and he doesn't seem to have as great a relationship with the players either.
I mean, that's one of the reasons as well why I called up about the Bilic situation. Obviously, the first season he came in, great season. I know it was the last season at Upton Park, etc. The atmosphere was amazing. Pretty much unbeaten all season, apart from one game, I think it was. Finished 7th last season with what I had to deal with. I know it's excuses, but Payet, any team that had to deal with that kind of thing would just disturb the whole team in itself.
All right. Well, have a listen to Bilic. Have a listen to Bilic. This is what you said,
right? Please, yeah.
Yeah, to be fair, the game could have finished 2-0. We could have scored 1 goal or whatever, but it wasn't to be, and it was it's a very bad result for us. They were much better than us today in every department of the game. They were better without the ball. They were better with the ball. We knew that they have that individual quality and they have that pace. They have strength and everything. That's why we didn't want to let them be in 1-against-1 situations. So we wanted to create, when they have a ball, 2 against 1, that we can cope with that. But in the majority of the game, it wasn't to be. So if they are 1-against-1, or if they give them time and space to turn in those little pockets and dangerous areas, then they are very little, and they show today.
It's a little rubbish, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hey?
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't make much sense, Luke.
Defeated man. Yeah. No, it doesn't make much sense at all.
So, Luke, you came on to talk to us, right, and said we're all being a bit harsh. You've now agreed with everything we've told you about West Ham, defeatism, not good enough from your manager, players have no heart. I'm afraid we've converted you to our point of view.
No, it's more. It was more to the point about the stick about West Ham after the first game of the season. Everything fear for West Ham for the rest of the season. I think like players with Lanzini coming in, Lanzini and Hernandez will link up like an absolute dream. I've got a good feeling about it. as long as he stays with us and keeps a new contract, because Liverpool could potentially go into him.
Yeah.
Obviously, you got Chiarte, massive miss in the middle of the field with his pace. Obiang and Fernandez had nothing on him out there, and Antonio. A lot of people are not talking about him.
Yep.
He played a game Friday night. He's back next week. We missed him because of value. I think with our full squad, but top 10 finish easily.
Well, you got to hope. You got to hope for that, but there's a long way to go. I've got to leave it there, Luke. I'm afraid. But listen, thanks very much indeed for calling in. We'll take some more West Ham calls coming up in the next hour, of course. When we're also going to do winners and losers. You might find West Ham are going to figure in that. You might find Slaven Bilic might figure in that as well. This is TalkSport. Still a great song whenever you hear that, isn't it?
Well, do you know what I think? I think that if Liam Gallagher, in a moment of reflection, you know, in the early hours of the morning when he's smoking a cigarette, maybe drinking a glass or two of whiskey and reminiscing on his life, he must think those were the days. He must think, if only we could get back to that, he must think that what a magical moment it was in my life. But like all people who are successful, and I include ourselves in this, we've had highs and lows in our careers, you never actually appreciate the moment when you are having success.
No.
It's only later when the lower days and the darker days come, you look back and think, wow, if only we could get back to that sort of thing. You know what I mean?
I suppose so, but I mean, he shouldn't have to worry about anything like that because having been
a
rock and roll star, having been a rock and roll star, something which very few people get to experience, he should just be happy about that.
Well,
and he should just go, you know what? If I wasn't such a complete and utter sort of numbnuts, actually, my life would be a lot simpler and a lot better.
I totally agree. But then again, you look at somebody like Rod Stewart, who we know, and who is 30 years older, or not quite 30 years older, I think about 28 years older than Liam Gallagher, and Rod is still at the top. And when Rod Stewart is, in the early hours of the morning reflecting on his life, listening to a few of his best records, all he can reflect on is, it never stopped for me.
Well, that's right.
Because he's such a professional and applied himself so diligently to his craft at all times, never took anything for granted, always knew that if he took his foot off the accelerator, his career would slip back, and it never has. And Liam Gallagher realises that he's done the opposite.
But if you're one of those people who's miserable all the time, you would probably sit there and go, I wish I could write songs like I used to write 20, 30 years ago. Yeah, Paul McCartney could do that.
Yeah.
But I mean, he hasn't got much to be upset about, really, at the end of the day.
He's
seems to be pretty happy with his life. You know?
Of course he's happy with his life. He can fill stadiums of 120,000 in seconds just by, sending out a tweet saying, I'm doing, the Maracana in Brazil or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
So he hasn't got anything to worry about whatsoever.
Okay. Yeah. How about this from Alan, who says, J.K. Rowling started another set of books already called Fantastic Beasts, set 80 years before Harry Potter.
Is that right?
I think my kids went to see one of the films, actually.
Oh, yeah? What film?
Fantastic Beasts. I think there's a movie out already.
What, of the book she's written?
Yes, I think so. I believe so. Well, she hasn't written a Harry Potter book for years. Nick says, great surprise to come home half bladderated to hear you two goons on the radio.
Goons?
It's a bit harsh,
nice word. I think that's said affectionately.
I think he means it affectionately, yeah. And then Philip says, is old MG still having a go at the North? He's used a different word, but I can't read that out. And he's quoting from some Sunday Times survey, which apparently says Manchester is England's most exciting and livable big city.
Yes.
Well, I mean, I'm a great believer in trashing any survey that is published by any newspaper, because almost certainly you can find any number of different conclusions that can be drawn.
Sure.
I still think anyone who doesn't realise that London is the most cosmopolitan, cultural and interesting city, not only in Britain, but also in Europe, he's got a screw loose.
Right, okay.
Now, we've just got the back pages here, haven't we?
Yes, we have.
Would you like to have a look at some of them?
Yes, indeed. I think
see what they're writing about.
Well, the most troubling story to me is one you've just pointed out on the back of The Guardian. McIlroy admits rib injury could rule him out for the rest of the year. What's all this about?
Well, I mean, he had an injury earlier, didn't he? Which meant that he had to pull out, I think. Did he not pull out of the Players' Championship? And then he went into the Masters, but he said that he was better. He's now saying that this injury now is so bad that it may have to keep him off the golf course for the rest of the year. And he had a pretty bad weekend here at the USPGA. I mean, he made the cut, but there's a lot of tournaments now that he doesn't make the cut for.
That's right, yeah, absolutely.
He says he's been troubled since January with pain transferring into his back. Having initially taken time off in an attempt to cure the problem, McIlroy returned for the key part of the season, but has not enjoyed the results he would like, especially in the majors. Well, that's true.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think the trouble is if you get an injury as a golfer, and people don't realise that it's quite an aerobic game. You need to use an awful lot of different muscles.
Yes, that's
if
right,
you've got a rib problem, you can't turn properly.
No.
You can't create the tension that you need to hit the ball.
Well, not only that, but you can't swing without knowing you get a wincing pain at the end of your swing, and that obviously affects your ability to go through your routine, if you see what I mean. If you know it's going to, if we were in the same position, when every time we said a particular word, we got a sudden electric shock in our mouth, you know what I mean, or something like that. You'd be reluctant to do it.
I remember when I cracked a rib up in Scotland, and it didn't actually hurt at all unless I moved in a particular way.
Well, you laugh.
And I couldn't laugh. That really hurt. But also, I couldn't turn. If I decided not to stay at home because I could just easily go to work and be in the same kind of pain. And for example, I couldn't turn right. I couldn't turn left in the car.
That's right.
Because it would hurt my rib.
Yes, that's right.
But I could turn right.
Yeah, I had all that problem. I had cracked ribs as well.
So I had to try and devise a way of getting to the office without actually having to turn left.
Yeah,
which you can do.
You can, yeah, okay.
You're not listening, are you?
I am listening. My doctor said to me the best thing to do, because you can't treat cracked ribs, was to wrap cling film around your chest and your waist.
Some people do that to lose weight as well.
No, I did that every day,
right.
and it did definitely help.
Did it?
It was like having a sort of flexible sort of bulletproof
like a
vest on. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
well, I suppose you've used enough of it.
Yeah,
he's basically saying he hasn't allowed enough time for the injury to heal properly.
Yes,
so he's now saying the best thing for him to do might be to take the rest of the year out.
Yeah, that's right.
And let it heal, and then hopefully when he comes back, he'll be back to normal.
That's right.
Because he hasn't played well at all this year.
No, he hasn't played well at all. He's had a downer ever since he had that football injury. He was playing football with his mates and did his ankle.
Yes.
And, 3 years without a major when you're supposed to be the world's #1 golfer, it's not good enough.
It's not. And I did tell you at the time that was a stupid idea of his to play football.
Yes, that's
and
right.
You seemed to think that it wasn't.
Well, it's the consequence of the injury, isn't it?
Yes.
Now then, I have to say, I think the Mirror have perhaps encapsulated the John Joe Shelvey story better than most, although everybody's got it. Clowning out.
Yes.
Rafa could strip Shelvey of captaincy after crazy Delhi stamp, Topplestown, and written by John Cross, great friend of the station here, chief soccer writer. It says
he's calling Shelvey a clown.
Chief football writer. Well, he's not. The headline is.
No, the story's calling him a clown as well.
Yeah, I know. But as we all know, quite often the headlines written by somebody who had nothing to do with putting the words together. But it says Rafa Benitez admits he's considering stripping, quote, clown John Joe Shelvey of the Newcastle captaincy. I think it was a daft move to make him the captain in the first place. He's very he's a very impetuous man.
He doesn't appear to have the sort of
the discipline,
stability to be captain,
self-discipline. No, captaincy over his red card. Then insisted Harry Kane should have been sent off as well. Rubbish, honestly, Rafa. I couldn't agree with you less. Shelvey was given his marching orders for a stamp on Delhi.
Yes, and they've actually blown up the picture of him stamping on him as well, haven't they?
Yes, which is it wasn't a stamp; it was a tread.
Well, it was even more deliberate and worse in a way than a stamp, wasn't it? Because he kind of he rested his foot and then pressed down on it for quite some time.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
and
the Eye, which is like a newspaper, which is derived from the Independent, but it's not the Independent. The Eye.
It is.
It says beginners Luke, United's new £75 million man, scores twice to smite West Ham.
My dream comes true. United, back of the sun.
Yeah.
I mean, so Lukaku is the big story for a lot of them, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, because he made a fantastic start. When you've got a huge valuation tag like that hanging around your shoulder, it's essential to get off to the right start with both your fans, with your club, with your manager, and to score a brace on your first ever game for United in the Premier League is a terrific achievement.
Yes. Now, back at the Express, they've got Conte to get funds, and it says Chelsea are ready to spend £130 million in the next 17 days to try to keep Antonio Conte happy.
Yes.
130 million in 17 days.
Yeah.
Well, I'd have to say again, that won't go very far in this market, will it?
No.
170 million.
Well, it depends who you're buying, I suppose.
Well, of course it does, but you could spend that on one player.
Yeah, you could.
Or two players.
Yes, you could.
And looking at Chelsea at the weekend, they need about four or five players, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
Because, Matic was a very big part of Manchester United's victory against West Ham.
Yes.
Why'd they let him go, for example?
Well, he got Man of the Match award in some of the reports I've seen this evening online, and they said that he was a complete player.
Well, he was.
And they have said, A, what a bargain. They paid 40 million for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, absolute bargain. And B, why did Conte let him go?
Yeah.
He would have made all the difference to Chelsea yesterday in their abortive attempt to reign in Burnley, who they lost to 3-2.
Indeed. And I mean, you wouldn't say, perhaps after watching what Aston Villa did at the weekend, that John Terry might have been the answer, but they could have done worse and keep him on for another year, couldn't they?
That Villa experience now is becoming embarrassing as well, isn't it?
They
lost 3-0, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
It was a terrible result for them, and when you think that,
And John Terry wasn't really much of a help to them, was he?
No. And, well, I mean, any team that loses 3-0 has got a problem with its centre-halves, hasn't
Especially
it?
to Cardiff.
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm saying. And you have to say to yourself, maybe that is an indication of the fact that Conte released John Terry at the right time.
Yeah.
But Villa are flattering to deceive again, we're the giant club in the Championship, which they are.
Well, everyone was talking about, all Villa are coming up, the favourites. Well, they're favourites to come up, weren't they?
Yeah, well, they and Middlesbrough were favourites to come up into the Premier League. And I have to say, you get smashed 3-0, whether it's home or away or whatever. It's a terrible result.
Yeah.
Yeah, shocking.
Well, maybe John Terry's going to end up being the player manager or something and he gets shot of Steve Bruce.
Maybe.
You see that happening?
I could see something happening.
You could see something happening?
Yeah.
Good.
Yes.
You're be more specific.
Well,
there's almost bound to be something happening.
Yes. What I'm saying is, what I'm trying to say is, by the way, there's another headline here on the back of the Times.
Oh, yeah.
And it says, when will Klopp learn? Liverpool's lamentable defending analysed again. And of course, Liverpool lost a lead in the third minute of added on time.
Yep. They should never have drawn that game, should they?
Well, you mean they should have lost?
No, I think they should have won it.
Oh, they should have won. I think they should have lost. But anyway, it ended up as 3-3, didn't it?
Yeah.
So, I suppose they got out of jail, really, with 1 point.
Well,
away game.
Well, yeah, they should have got 3, though. That's the whole point.
They should, yeah.
I mean, they're one of the few teams that was in the top sort of, 4 who didn't win at the weekend. Well,
yes,
one of
true.
2, I suppose.
It's true.
We might take a couple of calls on Liverpool as well.
Yeah,
actually.
indeed.
But we're also going to talk about Mo Farah, because he's on quite a few of the back pages too.
Yes.
Throwing a strop because a couple of people asked him a question he didn't like.
Well, I mean, now it's all turned on to, the media again.
Yeah.
I can't bear it, People like The Guardian here saying, Farah, media is out to destroy what I've done. Do The Guardian realise they are part of the media? And when they print headlines like that, they're actually, trying to mea culpa. We're lashing ourselves with.
Because you know what The Guardian means.
Canes.
The Guardian don't mean them.
No.
They mean the rest of the media,
yes,
who are
that's
all
right.
bullies and nasty, horrible people.
Yeah.
And people who jump over your back hedge to try and rifle through your dustbin.
That's right.
Those horrible people.
We're a nice paper. No, you're not. You're not sufficiently dwelling on some of the people associated with Mo Farah who have dodgy relationships with the world of drug inducement in the past.
Well, David Walsh from the Sunday Times, the guy that busted open the Lance Armstrong story, wrote a very interesting piece, I thought, yesterday.
Exactly.
About why Mo Farah's legacy is not going to be as great as it should be.
That's right.
Because he hasn't distanced himself from this guy.
That's right.
But we'll talk more about that coming
Absolutely
up.
right.
08717 22 3344. Almost time for winners and losers. We'll have a poll on that as well. This is TalkSport.
Where is my mind? Where is my mind? Where is my mind?
We're going to be doing winners and losers coming up in about 10 minutes' time or so. There is going to be a poll, so you can vote. It's only going to be a short poll, though. It's only going to run for half an hour.
Yes.
Because we'll have to get the definitive result, I suppose, before the show
get on
ends.
with it then, shouldn't we?
Before Bob Ballard. Well, you can't vote on it until we've done it.
Yeah.
Can you?
Well, no, but I mean we
that's
should
sort
get
of
on with nominating our winners and losers.
Yeah, well, we're going to do that in about 10 minutes' time.
You have 10 minutes?
Yeah.
That's too late.
About 1:30. Well, we can't do it now because we've got somebody to talk to on the phone.
Oh, well, let's talk to somebody
we've
on
got Stan,
the phone.
a Liverpool fan, who hasn't got a great deal of faith in Jurgen Klopp. So let's find out why. Stan, a very good evening to you, or morning, I suppose I should say now.
Yeah, good morning. Enjoying the show, guys.
Thank you.
Very good.
Very, very kind. Now, what do you think of Jurgen Klopp?
I'm a bit. He looks a bit knackered. Like his post-match interview, he looks exhausted, and that's really worrying. That.
Well, it says at the start of a
season. He shouldn't be exhausted, should he?
No, because it's kind of worrying. It's Watford away. I'm not saying it's only Watford away, but it was the manner of how he conceded the goals, and you think to yourself, you had all summer, pre-season, to work on these things.
Well, they're probably relying on Van Dijk to come, aren't they?
Sorry?
They're probably relying on Van Dijk to come and plug that defensive gap. But will that be enough?
I think with your coach and with the coaches and the staff, you think to yourself they must work on defensive, especially they had all summer to work on defensive set pieces and so on. And I almost feel like he doesn't care about defending. He seems quite delusional because he did say in an interview he thinks defense is fine. I think he's killing himself. And I'm really concerned that he just does not care about the concept of defending because, if you think about it, he was giving Mignolet the death stare after the first goal went in. If he drops him, we've got Karius. And my conclusion is, after watching the first game, we've got no chance of putting a title push, and it's going to be a real struggle to get top four. Which you have, you support your team, win, lose or draw. But I think it's really unacceptable that they had all pre-season to coach the players in defence to make them better. What have they been doing? What have they been doing all summer? There's no good just throwing money at the problem and hoping Virgil van Dijk comes in. And even that operation was completely amateurish in terms of, we got caught
the
approach. To tap him up.
Definitely.
Yeah,
well, and this is before Stan that Coutinho disappears, right?
I mean, that's another problem in itself. I mean, Coutinho, if Coutinho goes, he goes. But I think it's really, really worrying that this coach is Jurgen Klopp. He's had all summer right to address the defensive problems, whether it's new signings or with the current crop, who he seems to have faith in. But it seems like defence is the last thing on his mind, and I don't know. As Liverpool football player, it's really embarrassing, like the whole Virgil van Dijk thing. So
you kind of get the feeling that somebody behind the scenes at Liverpool has said to him, "Don't worry, we will do the Van Dijk deal." But actually, you're quite right, Stan, in what you're saying. Jurgen Klopp should never have taken that as read, and he should never have accepted the view of a sort of non-football person, who's doing the negotiating and the money. He should have said, "Yeah, okay, that's fine, but I've got to identify somebody else and go and found somebody else."
Yeah, and he, when I said he looks knackered inside, he was asked about Coutinho, and he said he's out of his hands. He's up to the owners. I mean, that makes me like he doesn't have what control does he have, and where I feel like our season is already kind of destined to be just bang average, which.
Yeah, well, they're not going to win the Premier League, that's for sure.
I don't think that's... No, I mean, but on the other hand, looking at all the first games that happened this weekend, I mean, defence... it was very entertaining. I mean, defence didn't look like it was at the heart of anybody's makeup, did it?
No, and last season, one thing I noticed about the Jurgen Klopp Liverpool team is that they get bullied very easily by teams like West Brom, Crystal Palace, obviously when Sam Allardyce was in charge. And I really feel like the fact that these players are getting bullied, it's like what? It's like we beat all the top 6 teams, so it means like he must motivate the players for the big games. But is he motivating the players for the games like against Burnley and Crystal Palace? And I think the coaching staff and Jurgen Klopp need to take a really good look at themselves, because Liverpool fans are thinking to themselves, what are you doing in training? What have you been doing all pre-season? I see all Liverpool videos, they're going out cycling and doing, rock, paper and scissors and that kind of crap, which is all good. But it seems like there's not words on the defence at all, and it's embarrassing, and really it's not good enough. And he looks knackered at this post-match interview. He could have come out a bit more defiant and said, "You know what, hands up, we're going to work on this." But it just seems like.
Well, I was listening to Jerry Barton, in fact, on Saturday before the game, and he was saying that he wasn't convinced really by Jurgen Klopp, and he said he thought that Jurgen Klopp's team isn't as good as Brendan Rodgers' Liverpool. And I don't know whether you agree with that.
I mean, Brendan Rodgers had the genius of Luis Suarez. I think Luis Suarez was the gel of that team, so he had that great season. I mean, he brought in some of the signings he brought in the following season when we lost Suarez. I mean, I don't know. He had one really good season. We were close, but I think Jurgen Klopp's team is really entertaining, attacking, but I just think he doesn't care about defending, and that's not acceptable. And I think
it's not going to work, is it?
with the fact that we're in Europe, we've got the domestic cup competitions and the Premier League. I really think this season he's going to struggle and he's going to be fan wanting. I hope not. I hope I'm wrong. But if he doesn't focus on the defence, because look, Mignolet, a backup is Karius. He's got Lovren, who I think at best he's improved, but he's just a squad defender. So if he's banking on getting Virgil, which I don't know if that's going to happen, the rest, I mean, Liverpool continuously sign players who've had potential or have had good seasons at teams who've been like Saha at Roma.
Indeed.
Liverpool need elite, world-class players, but they can't attract them because they're amateurish, negotiators.
Maybe if they get the Coutinho money, they'll have some money to attract them. Well, let's talk to Mark, who's another Liverpool fan. Mark.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, hi. Hello.
Yeah, hi.
Hi, Mark.
What do you want to say, Mark?
Yeah, what I was going to say is, even if Klopp got the Coutinho money, so say if he got 120 million, I still don't think he would be able to spend it. I feel like Everton are going to spend they're going to finish above Liverpool no matter what. Because even if when I saw, I don't know if you saw Carragher and Bellew, they went through the Liverpool versus Everton team. Everton even had more players in the top 11 than we did in Everton. And that was even without Coutinho. So you take the Coutinho money and there's no way you can replace him for 150. There's no one even that would come to us for 150.
So have you more or less decided that he's gone? He's going?
Yeah. I feel like once Barcelona come knocking, if you're a Latino player, if you're from South America, you're gone. If Barcelona or Real Madrid come knocking, the same way with Suarez, the same way with other people in the Premiership, once they've come knocking, you're going to go.
Yes.
And I feel like Everton will finish above us.
Yeah, maybe.
Because if you look, they've been proactive. We've been so slow in the transfer market. We're waiting for it to happen. We're waiting for us to sell our players, and then we'll go. We've still got a left back, Moreno as left back. We're waiting to sign someone better than him, but we can't because honestly, I'm flabbergasted.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the Liverpool of old. Mark, thank you very much indeed. A couple of other people saying David is one of them. I agree with that caller. Klopp doesn't get defence, but he says you'll never walk alone. Well, looking at some of the defending that was going on from the Friday night game between Arsenal and Leicester, I mean, that was pretty awful defending as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was shocking.
Well, I mean, an awful lot of goals being scored. Now, I've got some interesting news for you. I have pinned a tweet on the Two Mikes account on Twitter, which says it's the return of winners and losers. Vote now. I put it up about 6 minutes ago. And already 60 people have voted. And you've got 53% and I've got 47%.
What's that in?
Now, we haven't started the competition yet.
That's what I'm saying.
So
what are they voting on?
Well, they're voting just because obviously they like you or they like me.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you were the one that encouraged people to vote before we actually ran the competition.
No, I didn't. I didn't encourage them to vote. I said that, you know, wait till the competition happens, then vote. Yeah. That's what I was saying.
Well, that's what I would say. Yeah. But so all the people that have already voted, you know, you won't be able to vote more than once. Yeah. You can only vote once. Yes. That's what democracy is all about.
Yes, good.
But coming up, we are going to be doing winners and losers, of course, and then I'm going to be telling you where you can get the cheapest beer in the world.
Yeah.
Because you might want to go there.
Yeah, that could be good.
It could be good.
Also, we should talk about the fact that in future... learner drivers are going to spend time on the motorway.
That's right, they are.
And that is a great thing. I've been advocating this for years.
Have you?
I mean, when I was 17...
Well, you want to have the motorways riddled with learner drivers?
Yeah, I do, yeah. They should be allowed...
gone mad.
They should be allowed to use the hard shoulder.
Rubbish.
Because when I was 17 and passed my driving test, one of the first things I did was take my dad's car and I drove on a motorway. Right. Because I was going to Manchester.
Oh, yeah.
And it was terrifying.
Did he give you permission?
Yeah, he did. He? Terrifying.
He must have lost the plot.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, let's have them practice on motorway driving, but not actually on the motorway.
Yeah, well, they've got to go on the motorway. You've got to practice in real driving conditions.
No, they could have a practice motorway.
No, rubbish.
That's what they should do.
Let's spend 10 million quid on a practice motorway for learning driving.
There's already a practice motorway. It's in the middle of the country.
Yeah, so if you're learning to drive in Cornwall, what do you do? Drive up there.
Yeah, you drive up there. Yeah, absolutely right. No. This is Talk Sport. Quite nice to to hear that music again, isn't it?
Yes, that's good.
Winners and losers, of course. It's a competition that ran into a bit of trouble, you have to say.
Why?
A bit of corruption. Over the course of the years that we used to do it. Yeah, it did.
What do you mean corruption?
All sorts of people started lumping on voting more than once, opening up cheap accounts. You know, the Porky tribe, inveigled their way in. We had the porn star problem as well, do you remember?
Yes.
And so, what we did was we got rid of it. But we've come back to it, and already there's controversy because 84 people have now voted on the actual... the result.
And we haven't even had the competition yet.
No, we haven't even started yet.
No.
There's only 19 minutes left, though, because we want to have the result before the end of the show.
Yes.
Bob Ballard coming up next, of course. Now, right now, it's currently 52-48 in your favour.
Yes, OK.
So now that you're going to give them your 3 losers,
OK,
I dare say they'll start voting for me.
Doubt it.
Would you like to go first?
Yeah, my first loser.
Yeah, go on.
Frank de Boer.
Frank de Boer.
Who was the Crystal Palace
manager.
Not
a bad choice.
Because I'm telling you, this boy came into Britain. He was once considered as Everton manager about a year ago. And then, fortunately, we got Ronald Koeman. But, not a great track record. Did well at Ajax, but lasted like 6 months at
I don't think
in Milan.
He lasted that long.
Don't think he lasted that long.
No.
5 months, I think it was, in Milan.
Yeah.
And I never thought he'd be able to do it in the Premier League. Talks a good story. Seems to have an inbuilt and inherent arrogance about, I was a great player, so I can be a great manager. And, clearly hasn't prepared Crystal Palace properly for the start of the season. Got walloped 3-0. And so, what do you say? Here he is. Rooted to the bottom of the Premier League after his first game. That's a loser.
That's not very good, is it? Should I do one of my losers now? And I can't remember how we did it. Do you do your 3 and then I do my 3?
No, we do it alternately.
Oh, OK, all right. Oh, well, my first loser is Harry Kewell.
Yes.
Who is, of course, the new manager of Crawley Town FC.
Yeah.
Crawley Town FC, not exactly riding high in the Premier League, you'd have to say.
Right.
They are, in fact, in the bottom of the
National
League 2. No, they're in the Football League. They're in League 2.
Oh,
but he's played 2 games, right? And he hasn't won one yet. And so he's sitting right there at the bottom of League 2, which you'd have to say is perilously close to going out of the Football League.
Well, it is, but after 2 games, he's got a bit of time to correct it.
Well, he's got a bit of time to correct it, but I mean, Crawley Town are actually in a really, really bad place. And so all I'm saying is that for somebody who is supposed to be a formerly pretty good footballer, Harry Kewell, you know, you'd like to think that he'd have a bit more kind of about him to get them into a position. They played 2, they've lost 2. Their goal difference is -3. And I don't think they've actually scored a goal yet, have they?
No.
I don't think they have. No.
But Crawley's a bit of a dump anyway. So.
Well, it's Gatwick Airport, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's the town of Gatwick Airport.
And I mean, there's been so many obvious losers this weekend. I just thought I'd take you out of the Premier League and give you something unusual.
Yeah, OK, fine. There are a few obvious ones I'm going to have to come to. I'm going to go with my first winner now.
No, you don't do winners until after you finish doing your losers.
Right, OK. Well, this is my second loser.
Yeah.
My second loser is, in fact, Liverpool FC.
Is it?
Well, they were 3-2. They were 3-2 up on 90 minutes, right?
Yeah.
And they'd overcome the possibility of defeat, even though they're at Watford. Leading 3-2, 90th minute.
They didn't lose, though, did they?
They didn't lose, but it's as good as losing because they lost 2 points, which could be crucial to them finishing 4th or even winning the Premier League at the end of the season. They threw away 2 points, and they threw it away because, and this is explained very eloquently by an earlier caller, who said that Rafa hasn't spent the summer putting the defence back together.
Rafa?
Like he should. Kloppy hasn't spent the summer putting the defence back together like he should have done.
Yeah.
And therefore Liverpool lost because, again, the team has not been prepared properly for the rigours of the Premier League. You may say, well, they're waiting for Van Dijk to come from Southampton. Not good enough.
Well, hang on,
because it means that without him, they've lost 2 points.
Yeah, but you can't keep saying on the one hand it's only after 2 games, it's only after 1 game, but then in the case of Liverpool, that they are ruined just because they've lost they've drawn the first game. Hardly constitutes a loser, does it?
Well, it does because those 2 points are so vital. It's like Chelsea who've lost their first 3 points.
Yeah.
I mean,
they lost.
That's vital at the end of the season.
Well, that's a much better loser than Liverpool.
Well, no, losing 2 points on the opening day away to Watford is a terrific blow.
Is that right?
Yes.
Not as bad as losing 3,
That's my second loser.
My proper loser, which is a much more of a loser than anything you've said yet, is, of course, John Joe Shelby, who was the Newcastle captain on the first day of the season, who was sent off, being described as a clown. Clowning out is what it says, and he's now likely to be stripped of the captaincy, as we were saying earlier, according to a story by John Cross in the Mirror. He stamped on Dele Dele Alli.
Yes.
He sort of walked on his leg and his hand. He didn't need to do any of that. And the guy will now miss, presumably, at least one game, and maybe more, depending on what they decide to punish him for. And it just seems to me to be one of the most stupid and idiotic and selfish things that any footballer could have done on day one. He's let his players down. He's let the fans down. And, of course, the result was that Spurs then scored a couple of goals and won the game.
That's right, absolutely.
So, Nino's your third loser now.
My third loser, and again, it's an obvious one, but I'm sticking right to the obvious winners and losers this week. I'm not trying to be clever because there are so many winners and losers, and it's Antonio Conte.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think it could be what we saw yesterday with an amazingly inept performance by Chelsea, losing 2 players who got sent off, conceding 3 goals by half-time, and a manager who looks as though he's completely lost in space after being the Premier League winning manager last season. You have to say what we saw yesterday might be the first step in Mr. Conte leaving Chelsea sooner rather than later.
Yes.
Because that's what all the talk over the summer has been, about his discontent with transfers, about his discontent about not being able to bring players in, and one of the reasons why I think he's loser is to let Matic go to Manchester United, who played so very well yesterday.
He did.
Yesterday, not today.
It was yesterday, yeah.
And,
you're that right.
And for that alone, I'm afraid that losers stamped all over his forehead, particularly if he loses his job.
It certainly doesn't look good for him.
No.
My final loser is going to be away from football, and it's going to have to be Usain Bolt.
Right.
Usain Bolt, who is, of course, a legendary figure in the world of athletics.
He's one of the world's greatest ever sportsmen.
He is. However, he stayed on far too long, and that was the problem.
I don't think so.
His judgment went, and he came over to make his final sort of appearance in London because he loved London.
Yep.
He lost the 100 metres final. He came third, didn't even come second, right? To the guy Gatlin, who's been accused of being a drugs cheat and all the rest of it.
Yes.
He then tried to make yet another comeback last night. Night before last, actually, I suppose now, in the 4x100 metre relay.
Yes.
And unfortunately, terribly sad thing to see, he pulled up. He was the last runner for the Jamaican team.
Pulled up?
Yeah, he was the last runner for the Jamaican team, and he pulled his hamstring as he was about halfway round the bend so he couldn't even finish the race. So the Jamaica, who were the favourites to win the whole thing, couldn't even finish the race, which I think is really sad. And as much as Usain Bolt is a legend and a great guy, this week he has to be put down as a loser, I'm afraid.
Well, I think that's a little unkind, to be honest.
Do you think so?
But then again, you've got to pick yours alone. Right, we ought to go to winners now, I think, don't you?
We should indeed.
Yeah, I'll be having a bit of a spin on the record here.
We do, yes.
Everyone's a winner, baby, that's no lie. That's no lie. You never fail to satisfy.
By the way, you'll need to practice throwing to all these sorts of things because you're going to be doing the show all on your own, aren't you? Coming on Wednesday after I go on holiday.
Yeah, pretty easy.
On Talk Radio. Well, if it's anything like what you just did there, it's going to be pretty hard, I would say.
Is that right?
My first winner of the weekend is David Wagner, who is, of course, the manager of Huddersfield. They beat Crystal Palace. You had them as one of your losers. I'm having, by correspondence, Huddersfield as a winner because they came up.
No, I had Palace as a loser.
Yeah, I know you did. That's what I just said.
Okay.
No, I know you can't do two things at once. But you seem to be very distracted at the moment. I don't know why.
No.
But here's the point: Huddersfield came up, as did Brighton, as did Newcastle.
Yes.
But you'd have to say they had the best result of the weekend.
Yes.
Of all those teams that came up, and we were talking about it on Saturday, funnily enough, and I said that I thought Huddersfield might be the best kind of prepared for the Premier League because they were so well organised. David Wagner came over from Germany. He was more or less the sort of the B team coach from Borussia Dortmund, and he's been fantastic. And they look like a very good team, and they look quite hard to beat, very well organised, and they were all over Crystal Palace. And I think they could be, the surprise package of the season.
Yeah,
so that's my first winner.
Could be the sort of Hull team that what's his name had brought up and then took to Arsenal and they won there and all that kind of stuff.
Which Hull team?
The manager of Hull. Comes in here sometimes and works with Al.
Slutsky.
No, he has a tanned face.
Slutsky is the manager. You mean it's then the current Southend manager?
Yes, that's right.
Yes, okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right, now then, so my first winner, and again, this is not particularly novel, but it has to be said, has got to be Wayne Rooney.
Is that right?
Well, it's got to be. He goes back to Everton. It's his dream move to go back. We won 1-0 and he scores the winner in added on time in the first half from a header.
Yeah.
And, the fairy tale is complete.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's very good.
Yes.
All right. Well, my second winner, I think, is going to be Romelu Lukaku.
Right.
By the same token, Romelu Lukaku, who moved from Everton to Manchester United, not an easy thing to do because it's a much bigger place to be at, and there's a lot more scrutiny on you than there would have been at Everton. Wayne Rooney went back the other way, but Lukaku, who's gone for an awful lot of money and who a lot of people weren't certain was going to be quite the full ticket, has scored 2 goals in his opening game for Manchester United.
Yes.
Very, very important goals. He looks very confident. He looks like a guy who knows what he's doing, and he's going to get an awful lot of great service at Manchester United. And I think the move that he has made will make his footballing career. And I think he'll stay at Manchester United for a long time, and I think he will become a great player for them.
Okay.
That's it.
Right. Well, funny enough, you should say that, but I believe that the real winner at Old Trafford yesterday was, in fact, Jose Mourinho.
Oh, yeah.
Because everybody you've spoken to, everybody's seen that Jose's got his mojo back. Last season was frustrating for him. He's drawing too many games at home. He didn't have the squad that he wanted because it didn't work out for him in the transfer market. He's now made some moves over the summer, particularly signing Matic, which, is probably the signing of the summer. And United proved yesterday they are going to be a very principal challenger for the Premier League title. And everybody in football wants to see the old, arrogant, Jose
Mourinho back.
Yeah, the old arrogant, I was going to say, highly confident Jose Mourinho back, sniping away at other managers and basically reminding us all that he is a God's given talent.
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
Well, I think everybody would really enjoy that, wouldn't they? Incredible that it may seem. I was talking to you earlier about Usain Bolt basically becoming a loser. Well, you'd have to say Team GB have to be the winners as well.
Yeah.
Because Team GB, of course, won the gold medal in the 4x100 metre relay, which nobody expected, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely nobody expected that to happen.
And nobody really cares about.
Well, they do. There was a stadium packed full of people.
Right, okay.
It was all over the television and it was all over the back pages yesterday in the newspapers. So lots of people do care about athletics, particularly when Great Britain wins a gold medal. Because as you will appreciate, being an athletic type, it's very, very difficult to do.
Yeah, all right, okay.
So that's my third one.
Okay, that's fine. My third winner?
Yeah.
Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift.
Without a shadow of a doubt. The young lady who's the world's most popular singer. She has 85 million followers on Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
When some grubby, half-civilised DJ...
half-civilised?
Yeah. Put his hand around the back of her body and clenched her buttock.
Is that what he did?
That's what he did.
Are you sure about that?
Well, because a judge endorsed that that's what happened. The judge believed it happened.
Right.
And she then successfully, went to court to get this...
well, she only really did that because he had sued her for wrongful dismissal.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, this matter resolved. The judge found in her favour, although there's still an outstanding case about that lawful dismissal. But, I mean, she stood up for women everywhere. I'm a great supporter of women's rights.
Really?
You will see in a picture I'd taken today with the assistant manager of the Cock
with
and
that
Bull,
horrible
Steph.
hand of you round her back.
Well, yes, but
Can't see the other hand.
But far removed from any sensitive area of her body, unlike you, who wrapped your hand around the Winebird last week and seemed to have half of her blouse in your...
That's not true.
In your grip around her waist.
That was an oversight.
Well, it certainly happened. Whether it's an oversight or not, mate.
Yeah, but she was very gracious in her apology on Twitter and said that clearly neither one of us knew that was going on.
Yeah, and I treated Steph with great dignity and respect because I'm a supporter of women's rights, and I'm just delighted that Taylor Swift got justice for all women.
Load of old
no, that's the way I am.
No.
I am a modern man.
Are you?
Yes.
You're a modern man. Well, maybe we'll give you a test on that towards the end of the week.
Yes.
Now, don't forget, that was winners and losers. You've got to vote on it now because there's only 4 minutes left to vote.
Yeah.
At the moment, it is absolutely landlocked, deadlocked, 50-50.
Right.
147 votes have been cast.
Yeah.
If you want to cast some more, you better do it now.
Get some votes in.
Is going to run out.
Get some votes in.
This is Talk
Vote
Sport.
Porky, vote often.
My commitment, you're an embarrassment. Yes, an embarrassment, a living endorsement. The intention that you have booked was an intention that was overlooked.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. You've got very, very little time to vote in the 1 minute left, in fact, to vote in winners and losers. 50-50 at the moment.
Yeah.
Mark says, sorry, Porky voted for MG. Alan said, I thought Porky had slightly better choices. MG made very good points to back his selections, and so he gets my vote.
Yeah, well, that's not very typical. One here from Bradley says, I agree with you, Porky, about Crawley. Ain't a pretty place. I used to live there. Well, I'm not knocking it. It's a it's a work
You said it was
town.
a dump, didn't you?
Well, it's a bit of a...
The Cure come from there, apparently, according to somebody who's...
Is that right?
Me,
yeah, okay, yeah.
You like The Cure?
The Cure?
Yeah.
I don't know.
You don't know
their records.
Okay,
no.
they're a very good band.
Well,
here's one from Cola. First weekend of the season, and Porky puts Rooney as a winner in Winners and Losers, just to try and flog a few more copies of Rooney Tunes.
No, not at all.
By the way, there are matters arising from that. There have been a few people asking me to ask you about the exact circumstances of when you were waving to all the Everton players and sort of, acting like a fan rather than an actual journalist.
Yes.
So when you saw Wayne Rooney, from how far away were you?
20 or 30 yards.
Right.
Yeah.
And you say he looked up and waved back at you?
Yes, he did.
Yes. But why wouldn't he come up and say anything to you?
Well, because I keep trying to explain this to you.
20 or 30 yards is not very far away, though.
It is in a football stadium when you're on the third tier and he's walking around the edge of the pitch.
But hang on, considering you've written a book about the guy, wouldn't you think he would want to come up and say hello and thank you?
He couldn't. He's in discipline mode. He's joining his teammates in the dressing room. Can't go anywhere else. That's part of the procedure prior to a game. You come in and you join your mates in the dressing room. You're going to warm up in the gym.
Yes.
You haven't got time to go around talking to, even distinguished broadcasters like me before the game, and I wouldn't have expected him to.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. It says the poll is now ending. And unfortunately, I don't think enough people have voted in it to get one of us over the edge. So it's ended in a 50-50 stalemate.
Really?
Yeah. So that's what it looks like.
Okay. Well, we'll have to see about that. It says here, to be fair, you can't have winners and losers without accusations of gerrymandering.
Oh, hang on. There's an update.
It's
just updated itself.
Yes.
And it's given you 51%.
Wow.
Over 49% to me.
Wow.
So it means that you've actually just edged it.
And is it now closed?
It is now closed.
It's now closed.
That's
I've
the
won.
final result.
Hooray!
Yeah.
Woo, woo, woo,
so
woo.
now you can suddenly you can stop reading your information device.
Listen, what a weekend I've had. What a weekend I've had. I got the Everton result right and Rooney scored.
When you say you got the Everton result right, how do you mean that?
Well,
you mean they won?
Didn't you see my tweet on my betting slip?
A lot of people remarked about that.
Yes, I had
another man of the people style bet where you were throwing money around.
I had Wayne Rooney to be first goal scorer, £10 at 4-1.
Yes,
and Wayne Rooney to be last goal scorer, £10.
So there's only one goal. Do you get both of those?
You get both.
You do. That's not bad, is it?
Absolutely.
So how much do you get for that then?
Well, I staked £60 because I didn't get the time of the first goal and I didn't get the right score right because I bet 3-1 and all that kind of stuff.
That's what I thought I saw, yeah.
Yeah, however...
So you get first and last goal, though?
Yes.
So how much do you get for that?
£80 altogether.
80, right.
I had a £60 stake, so I won £40 because I got £100 back. I got one of the others right, and I think it was...
was it maybe full-time, half-time?
Yeah, half-time, full-time, something like that, yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Well, good.
So that was pretty good.
Well, I'm glad.
So I wasn't throwing money around. I was investing.
Well, no, a lot of people think that actually spending £60 on one football match is a lot of money.
Yes, I think it is.
I know that you don't think it is. But
no, I do. But because I was so sure that I was going to get it back, I felt confident that I wasn't wasting my money.
How much money will you be betting on the Manchester City scenario?
Well, I'll be with our friends from BetSafe, so I will obviously stake a few bob with them.
Will you?
Because then if I lose, it goes into a pot on which I have an investment with you.
Hey?
Yes, well, we have an investment in BetSafe.
What do you mean it goes into a pot?
Well, I mean,
you don't bet with my money.
No, it goes back to them, and then they pay us.
Oh, I see.
You see what I mean?
Yeah,
that's what I'm talking about. Yeah,
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Now we haven't really finished talking about what's his name, have we? Mo Farah, who I thought about putting in as a winner at one point, and then thought about putting him in as a loser.
Yeah, I agree.
At another point, because he has now been whining and moaning, saying, "I am clean." Even though he actually hasn't provided,
enough evidence to tell us,
that much evidence to prove that he is. And maybe you shouldn't have to prove it.
Yes,
maybe we are being unkind to ask him to prove it.
Yes,
but he seems to think that everybody's got it in for him, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. Yeah. But then again, that's paranoia, isn't it? You know, when you're in the public eye and you lap up the adulatory tidal wave that's come his way over the last 4 or 5 years because he's one of the great outstanding sportsmen in the history of this country.
Yeah, I'd have to say that.
And quite rightly so. Quite rightly so, he should get the adulation he deserves. When that turns a bit, then I'm afraid that, you can get paranoid about where you think it's coming from. What I object to is the idea that the media is on his back. The media isn't on his back. The media reports the facts. If they didn't report the facts, they'd end up in court. And we don't end up in court because we report the facts.
Indeed.
Quite as simple as that.
Absolutely. Yes. Mark says this, home from bladderation in moderation for my 26th birthday, best radio show in the galaxy. He says, are you on Mars?
Well, we could be. Yeah. There is life on Mars, of course. David Bowie told us that.
That doesn't mean there is, though.
No, that doesn't mean there is. But he's asked the question, hasn't he, over the years? He's poised the question.
Yes.
So.
Andy says this, close call, but back to your local Porky, all cock north and bull fiddle fiddle diddle or vice versa, neck and neck, but MG nailed it ultimately.
Just show a bit of respect, man. I've just won the poll. I won the Rooney bet. I won the Chelsea prediction. I've had a pretty outstanding weekend, I would say.
It's only going to go downhill from here, isn't it?
Well, I don't think so.
I think it is. Now, if it does go downhill and things turn out to be terribly disastrous towards the end of the week, as you do the show on your own on Talk Radio, right, I'm going to give you a list of the 11 cheapest countries to buy a pint of beer in, so that if you decide you want to take a couple of days and go for a short break, where do you think the cheapest country is to buy beer in? Now, I'm assuming that these are countries that you would normally go to, as opposed to there wouldn't be any point in me saying, Angola or something like that.
No, this would be Croatia.
But it's somewhere like that. It's Bulgaria, actually.
Bulgaria,
where you can get a pint for 97p.
97p is pretty good.
Czech Republic, just over £1. Hungary, Mexico, Portugal, Thailand, South Africa, Poland, Jamaica, Barbados, and Spain.
Okay.
Are the cheapest countries. Spain is £1.80 for a pint of beer.
What's the bottle of beer in Spain called? They've had it for like hundreds of years.
Well, there's all sorts of different
Sol
Spanish beers. Well, that Sol is Mexican, isn't it?
No, what's the one in Spanish? They've had it for years. I remember when we used to go there as a kid on package holidays.
Yeah.
The only beer they ever sold in bars.
Is it San something?
Yeah, San Miguel.
San Miguel,
that's the one. Yeah,
San Miguel.
Had that for years and years.
Very nice. Estrella is the other one, because that's where when I went to the new camp, and there's all these signs up for Estrella everywhere.
Right,
and I was under the impression that it turns out it's non-alcoholic beer, because they sold non-alcoholic beer in the stadium.
Yeah.
I couldn't get a proper bottle.
Who would want that?
Which was a bit unfortunate.
That's right.